It's time to put the remote control down. The talking heads are done. It's time for unfiltered takes over a nightcap. You're invited inside to discuss the weekend's biggest disasters, the surprising heroes, and everything that got missed over the course of the weekend. This is where the best late-night sports talk happens. Welcome inside the ETB Lounge. And now, here's your bartender of banter for the evening, Callan McClurg.
Well, the snow is cleared in Denver. The 12th man is still screaming their lungs out in Seattle. And the NFL has officially handed us a Super Bowl 60 that feels like a glitch in the Matrix timeline. Drake May versus Sam Darnold. Welcome into the ETB Lounge, everybody. My name is Callan McClurg. And if you had Sam I'm Seeing Ghost Darnold and the Patriots rookie as your Super Bowl matchup back in August, I'm going to need you to drop your lottery numbers in the chat right here and right now. We just got through a Sunday of survivors that defied all logic. In Denver, New England outlasts Denver 10-7 in a mile-high blizzard, a game so cold I'm pretty sure the Gatorade buckets turned into ice sculptures by quarter two. On the flip side, Sam Darnold continued his revenge tour of the universe, punching the Seahawks ticket with a 31-27 thriller over the LA Rams. Matt Stafford is probably still staring at the ceiling, wondering how a guy who used to see ghosts just turned his secondary into them. And while the NFL was busy being weird, college football decided to actually be normal for once. Well, as normal as Indiana winning a national title can be. A week ago, we had a Hoosier holiday in Miami as Curt Cignetti completed the impossible 16-0 run. Seeing 17,000 Indiana fans take over Hard Rock Stadium felt like watching a basketball crowd realize they accidentally bought tickets to the wrong sporting event. But hey, a 27-21 victory over the Canes says the rings fit just fine. But if you thought that was the only earthquake in sports this weekend, let's go to the grass. Brooks Koepka is officially coming back this weekend to the PGA Tour at Torrey Pines right here in San Diego. The five-time major champ is ditching the LIV golf shorts and music for the hallowed coastal links of Torrey Pines in La Jolla. I guess even Brooksy realized that $100 million doesn't buy you the feeling of actually being relevant on a Sunday afternoon in late January. We have tonight to break down the receipts from the conference championships, the final tally on Indiana's miracle, and a golf world that is officially shaking once again. Joining us at the bar tonight, the man who signs the checks and keeps the neon lights on, that is Nick Morgasen, and our analytical whiz kid, Dino Taibi. And because we haven't suffered enough already, in hour two, our resident Pats fan, Ben Kruse, will be joining us to explain how Drake May is apparently the second coming of Brady, despite throwing for 140 yards in a snowbank in the mile-high city. Well, the scoreboards are off on a Monday. The stadiums are empty, but in here, the lights stay on and the conversation is just beginning. The lounge is open. Dino and Nick, the AFC is moving to Foxborough West. The U is still not back, but only in the consolation bracket, and Brooks Koepka is about to find out if Torrey Pines remembers him. Let's get to work. First and foremost, Nick, great to see you as always. Great show again with the crew on Sunday from the Saturday night staff. Great to have Nick DiMartino back behind the bar last night. Great to see you as always, sir. How's your back feeling tonight, if I may ask?
Not good. I probably picked up about 12 to 14 inches of snow already from shoveling, but you know what? Life goes on, and there might be a nor'easter next weekend to add on top of this foot of snow. So what do they say? It doesn't feel like winter in New York until the first major storm hits. So you know what? It's nothing like the snowbank that took place in Denver, but I think we'll survive.
I hope so. Do I dare say it? 72 and sunny today in San Diego.
You know what?
Sorry, not sorry. Dino Taibi joining us again as well. Dino, thanks again for hopping on, my man. Great to see you as always, and welcome aboard.
Good to be here. Yeah, just to echo Nick, it's definitely winter right now. We've got a lot of snow, and the temperatures are going to be very, very low.
We're not going to be above freezing, I think, for the next 10 days, at least.
So the snow's not going anywhere, and we may get more.
They're talking about a foot next weekend again. I can't.
I hope not. I mean,
for the sake of everybody back there, I hope not too. I mean, I literally, folks, Trevor Williams, who you saw host Hardwood Game Day on Saturday, sent the network Slack channel photos this morning of his car being underneath snow and ice today. He literally couldn't get to his vehicle this morning to go to work. So definitely wishing the best for everybody back on the all the way across the country, because I mean the weather conditions have just been probably, I think, some of the worst that I can recall seeing, from the outside looking in. As a reminder, though, gang, you can follow us on social media. We are at the ETB Lounge. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok, and of course follow the network too. We are at ETB Network as well across IG, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, subscribe to us over at youtube.com/ETB Network. More importantly, again, if you would like to control the direction of our conversation here tonight, again, hit up the live chat box on YouTube or on Twitter. We got 47 people watching already. We had over 150 watch the Saturday version hosted on Sunday with DiMartino back behind the bar last night. So again, thanks to everyone who was tuned in and watched, though. I think, though, so far, though, Nick, after the first, I'd say 4 weeks, this program is definitely going places right now. And I think even the last couple times we've had Sunday shows, because either I've gone to work or I've gone to watch games. Nick was out of town last weekend to go to Vegas for a bit. But like the instant reaction, though, like we had last night, is why this show got created during the course of the latter part of last year, and why it is coming out, or why it debuted when it did back on January 5th.
Yeah, I mean, this show's great. You don't see a lot of late night reactionary shows anymore. And you know what? If I wanted to sit through an hour of BS, I'd rather go sit and watch this show than watch Jimmy Kimmel or whatever. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. Callan knows that. But if I wanted to go watch an hour of Trump escapades, I'll go watch that on social media. I don't need to go watch that on late night TV.
So with that in mind, though, folks, we'll get underway here for the evening. Let's get to the round of takes, our first 3 topics of the night. Nick and Dino, let's go through our biggest win on tap. We're gonna go to Seattle over the Rams from Lumen Field. Back and forth, they went punch, counter punch, as Nick would like to say, rock'em sock'em boxing last night. Seattle 31, LA 27. Sam Darnold throws for 346 yards and a hat trick, 3 touchdowns, and then just win the game. He exercised every ghost of his Jets and Panthers past, alongside his wide receiving core, led by Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. 153 yards as well, is officially the best receiver in the game today. So with that in mind, Mr. Morgasen, did the Rams lose this game on the did the Rams lose this game? Because let's also remember, though, this game could have turned a million different directions because of the very stupid Tarek Woolen penalty for the unsportsmanlike conduct that could have cost Seattle that game in a way. Or, though, did Sam Darnold, though, Nick, finally become the chosen one we were promised back in 2018? So more about the Rams losing because of their secondary, maybe special teams. We saw the muff punt that led to a touchdown fairly early in the third quarter, or just maybe perhaps, though, Sam Darnold played his best game of the season so far, and now the Seahawks go back to the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks' time from Santa Clara.
No, I first of all, this was the better of the 2 games for the weekend. We already knew, and we'll probably save the Patriots for when Mr. Kruse gets here. But that was more a defensive fest game. This was the complete opposite. This was an offensive fest. The over hit, I think, in the early third quarter. Darnold had an incredible game, 25 for 36, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. They each had 3 touchdowns. They each threw for over 345 plus yards. Kenneth Walker had an incredible game, replacing Carbonet, who went down with the massive injury to end the year. Shaheed had another huge play to extend this game. The penalty was stupid. The ref should not have thrown it. I don't care. It's a playoff game. It's a passionate play. Keep the flag in your pocket. Like, you're gonna gloat when you make a huge stop on 3rd down. I think the ref overreacted big time. I think it was 4th and 13, and that ended up being a 15-yard penalty and a 1st down. I mean, come on, man. The refs need to not get themselves involved in games. Like, this is not, we're not here for the referee show. We're here for the football game. But at the same time, Stafford's had an incredible career. Nothing else he really could have done. I just think Seattle was just an incredible team with a lot of momentum heading into the Super Bowl. And I think that momentum is going to carry into the Super Bowl. I just think they're the better team. Puka had another great game. 9 receptions, 165 yards, a touchdown. By the way, this guy must have that. What was that allegation that they made that they put on the gloves? Oh, the stick-em.
Stick-em.
Like, I think he catches every football. Even when he's triple teamed, he somehow catches every football. Devontae Adams had another incredible catch, which almost brought them all the way back in that game. They obviously turned it over on downs. For some reason, McVay won't take points either, which is another interesting scenario.
A little too over-aggressive in your mind, maybe going for it in that situation?
Well, in that situation, you had to because they were trailing by 4. But the one prior, a little over-aggressive. I think they should have taken points. You could say the same thing about the other game, too. I thought Denver was a little over-aggressive, going for it rather than taking points. But Seattle's just a better team. They're a better defensive team. Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now, period. I think you saw the 2 best wide receivers in the NFL, period, between Puka and Jackson Smith and Jigba. This guy's going to be incredible. And Sam Darnold, of course, is an angry Jet fan, and so is Dino. We're going to obviously be upset because I think he is going to win a Super Bowl with Seattle. And all us Jets fans are going to be pissed off because we can't do a damn thing correct with any quarterback that comes to New York. But it's going to be a great matchup. It's a battle of a young quarterback who's in, his second season now. He's 23 years old, second youngest quarterback to be a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl. It's going to be a great game.
I think it will be. And Dino, that game, though, on Sunday was something else. I kind of was, looking at the box score, kind of doing a few things, though. And like every other time I would refresh it, though, it was like touchdown, 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 touchdown. Like it was like, back and forth, seesaw battle all the way through. Again, though, I think the Seahawks just made a few more plays than what the Rams could muster up, though. So, Dino, your thoughts, though, again, great game. Seattle wins this one 31-27 over the Rams. Overall thoughts and maybe thoughts about Sam Darnold maybe finally exercising those ghosts, as we heard from his time in New York and even in Carolina.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I still find it hard to believe, the guy who said he was seeing ghosts is now going to the Super Bowl. And I think, up till yesterday, you could almost argue that they weren't really winning because of him, but he really did have a great game yesterday. But in terms of the game itself, yes, these were 2 teams. If you're like, this was their 3rd meeting of the year. And in the first 2 meetings, they literally were separated by 1 point and 1 yard of offense. That's how close these 2 teams were. So like you said, they was really like a punch, counter punch type of game. You kind of felt like Seattle was in control for really most of the game. It was pretty much going to end up being their game to lose. The Rams did have their chances. That muffed punt definitely cost them a lot. But on the other hand, the penalty against Seattle cost them a touchdown as well. So you could almost argue like a bad mistake on each side cost each side a touchdown. So you could kind of say that evened out in a way. But yeah, Seattle just made enough plays in the end to eke it out. I will say when Nick mentioned not taking the points, when they were down near the goal line, I believe there was about 4 minutes left. They could have conceivably kicked the field goal and kicked it off and gotten the ball back with enough time to get one more field goal and win the game. And I felt like maybe at that point that was the right play to make, but I guess they just trusted their offense more than their defense because their defense wasn't really getting many stops. So that's probably what was going through McVay's head at that point.
Nick, I'm actually glad.
I probably would have taken the points.
I'm actually glad, though, Nick, that Dino brought up, though, about that scenario, because today I had listened to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton again, legendary SoCal sports talk radio host, former NFL play-by-play voice. He even said the same thing of that Dino had just said, though. Why would McVay be so hell-bent on going for the touchdown at that time? Again, down 4, I know, 5 minutes left in the game. You're on the goal line. The throw goes out of bounds. It sails over the head of the receiver. And in a way, he's like, take the points. You're down 1. You've got all 3 timeouts left. You have the 2-minute warnings. You really have 4 timeouts to use. So maybe, Nick, to maybe go back to that point, though, obviously we talked about the muff punt because it led to a touchdown right after the misplay. We have to also remember, I think, too, in a way, the Rams did fire the special teams coordinator, I think, right before the season ended for the regular season. They've had a lot of problems with special teams all season. So, Nick, your thoughts maybe about that idea, as Dino said, though, go for the touchdown in that situation or kick the field goal. You're down 1. You've got 3+, a 3+1 timeout scenario and still 5.5 minutes left to play in regulation time, down 31-30.
Well, also you had the scenario, I think that McVay almost took a challenge towards the end of the game.
It was very close about the Cooper Kupp. I think it was the Cooper Kupp play where he was tackled like
the first down.
Sticks. He reached out, I think, and like the ball had just barely broken the goal line or the plane for the first down.
He definitely got it. When you look back at the replay, he definitely reached the ball over the plane. So he took a timeout, and then if he had taken a challenge, he would have lost 2 timeouts in that scenario, which, again, I think that was smart that he didn't take the challenge because he would have been wrong. It would have been a first down. Like, he broke the plane, obviously, with his hands, getting that first down. But, Dino, I think you were the one who said it in our Slack chat when I said it, where like, oh, my God, he dropped the return, which I think that was the beginning of the end for the Rams at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean if you notice, they stopped using that punt returner after that play.
They did.
They started using their running back, Kyron Williams. No, I mean that was a big mistake on their part. That ball was close enough to the end zone where he could have just let it bounce, and it might have even gone into the end zone, and they would have been at the 20. But instead, he didn't get underneath it correctly. He fell on his ass and he muffed the punt, and that's just a huge mistake that cost his team a touchdown on the other direction.
By the way, you know what that muff punt reminded me of, fellas? It's like watching an infield fly in baseball on a bright sunny day and there's no clouds, and the infielders are going like this, like, where's the ball? I can't find them. They keep, they're looking for help. In a way, watching the replay of that, because I think someone put it out on social media, and like it has said, Rams special teams in a nutshell for 2025-26. It reminded me so much of like a baseball player who's looking for a high fly ball hit in the infield on in the middle of a day game, and they can't seem to find the ball in the sun until it's too late. That's what it reminded me of in that scenario, in that situation.
I call that like the 5.5 hole. Like when they say that all the time, it ends up between shortstop and third base constantly, and they have that issue. But you know what? Was that a momentum killer for the Rams? Yeah, it was, because they didn't recover after that play happened. And to be honest, Seattle should have won this game by more than 4 points. Because if that taunting penalty doesn't happen, I think they drive back down again and at least get another field goal out there. And I think it becomes a much harder scenario to drive back down the field and get the points necessary to win. But you know what? Incredible game. 58 points scored in this game, which I did not expect was going to happen at all. Sam Darnold comes to play. There was a lot of questions whether he was going to come and was he going to be the Sam Darnold of old and completely flop like he did, like in Minnesota after they won 14 games, had a completely awful playoff game. No, he was ready. Even with the oblique injury, which was a huge injury, he still managed to be Sam Darnold and get his team to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. It's going to be a good game, but everyone thinks the Patriots are going to get destroyed by like 20 points. And I'm like, come on, like stop. Like I looked at the spread earlier today. I think it's like Seahawks minus 4.5 right now currently, which I think is right. I think that's the right number. Any higher, I think then you're thinking about crossing over the spread possibly, but see what happens. I think we're too early. This is the weird period now during the NFL playoffs where you're 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl, and you're going to start seeing all this over speculation of stories that are going to come out. Is Drake May hurt? That's a speculation that's come out now. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out of it. With that in mind, fellas, let's get to the Flat Beer Award for the evening. Someone seemed to take some scissors to the Coors and Coors Light CO2 tanks in Denver. Wow, 10-7 Patriots move on to the Super Bowl to beat Denver. A 10-7 final in a blizzard as the ultimate skunked beer for a number one seed in the AFC. Bo Nix was heroic until he wasn't, but the Denver offense went cold at the exact wrong time, especially with Nix being out. Jarrett Stidham did all he could, somehow, some way. So Dino and a couple of beleaguered Jets fans, fellas, Dino, starting with you. Dino, did Mike Vrabel just reinvent the Patriot way, defensive blueprint, or did the Broncos simply choke away a golden ticket to Santa Clara, in your opinion?
It's a little of both. I mean, I do feel like Sean Payton was outcoached in this game. Mike Vrabel made some adjustments at halftime. You could tell he did. They started running a lot more, and especially as the snow started falling, they just pretty much gave up on the pass. They were just trying to run it down their throats, really. Sean Payton had a chance to take points in the first half that he didn't take, and that might have ended up costing him at least a tie game. The Patriots, this is definitely, when they first started their first dynasty with Brady, they definitely did used to win more with their defense before Brady really became Tom Brady. So this could very well be the start of their next dynasty for all we know. And they're starting out the same way they started out the first time, which is defense and coaching.
Nick, I believe you mentioned in the pre-show huddle that the over-under was like 42, I think, in this game.
42 and a half.
42 and a half up at Empower Field at Mile High.
Might have closed at 43, actually. But
I think when we did forecast, I think it was 42 and a half. But yeah.
I mean, either way, though. Now, obviously, this game had a different angle to it because we eventually, as we talked about, I think, the day after the divisional round, when Sean Payton made the announcement, Bo Nix broken ankle, he's not going to play. So Jarrett Stidham, who I think only had played in 4 regular season games within the last couple of years, I think, is thrust into action in the AFC Championship game. They get an early touchdown, then they have the very weird play where, like, it was ruled a backwards pass. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo must have been drinking beer because they didn't know what the hell was going on. Territory didn't know what the hell was going on in the CBS booth either. It went from one thing to another thing to it was this, it was that, and they ruled it like a touchdown. I don't know what happened out of it, though, but it was a very weird play, though. And then, much like Sean McVay, a different Sean named Sean Payton, also perhaps in a way is a bit over-aggressive coaching, though, when it comes to taking points or not. So, Nick, maybe your thoughts about Mike Vrabel in the defense with the Patriots, or simply Bo Nix being out, though, hurting Denver's chances, in your opinion?
So, I talked about this on ETB Sports, which comes out Wednesday, that this whole narrative that Bo Nix was out and that's the reason why they lost this game is such a stupid narrative, in my opinion. Like, Denver had enough offense. They had enough weapons. Stidham is no slouch. People forget that he's started, I looked it up, I think like 8 to 10 games over his career. So he has some starts.
He's at least played. Yeah, he's at least started and played.
I get it. This is a tough, your first game of the year is a game that could lead to the golden ticket of the Super Bowl. That's a tough scenario to get thrown into at this juncture of the season. But it's not a rookie or a third string guy that's never played in a game before. We got to give Stidham a little more credit than where credit is due. And by the way, Drake May only had 86 total yards. And he's not the reason they won the football game. The Patriot defense is the reason why they won the football game.
Which went to the bar tab question. Did Mike Vrabel begin to rebuild the Patriot way defensive blueprint with how they won this game?
Yes. Well, at the same time, they needed a quarterback because their quarterback situation was a mess until they drafted Drake May, which, by the way, if it was, you said it to me the other night, if it wasn't for the Jets beating them, they might have ended up with Drake May instead of the Patriots. But at the same time, if it wasn't for the Patriots defense, this entire playoffs, I don't think they make the Super Bowl, or they don't have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And this whole dangerous scenario going around that everyone says, oh, well, it's too easy of a schedule to, like, the Patriots got lucky with their scheduling and all the easy games. You play the schedule that's in front of you. You play the schedule that's on paper. It doesn't matter if it's too easy, if it's too hard, or if it's indifferent. You play the games that are in front of you. And people are complaining because the Chargers were a mess and Justin Herbert was hurt. And there is a little luck involved when it comes to being in the playoffs. Okay? And you play, or our former Jets coach way back in the day, what did he used to say? You play to win the game. I mean, little Herm Edwards classic right there. But I don't know. I think we're overreacting to some of the results of this game currently. At least that's how I see it. Dino, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Stidham, here's what I'll say. I mean, yes, he definitely, he wasn't a rookie making his first start ever. He did have some experience. Having said that, he hadn't played, a regular season game in 2 years. So it was definitely a tough situation to just be thrust into, this situation. But the other stat that I kept seeing throughout the week was that Sean Payton was actually 8-1 with backup quarterbacks. So he specifically wanted Stidham on the team to be the backup. So Payton definitely, he wanted Stidham to be his backup for a reason. I don't think he played pretty well in the first half, except for that one mistake where he just kept going back. And, the ruling went against him, and I agree with it. I don't believe it was a forward pass. It looked like a backwards pass to me as well. They initially ruled it intentional grounding, which means it was a forward pass. And then they discussed it and they changed the ruling. And I think actually it could have been a touchdown because the Patriots ran it back into the end zone.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't a touchdown because they blew the whistle, I think. So
well,
they blew the whistle, the defense.
They blew the play dead. Right.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they ruled it Patriots ball at like the 10-yard line because they're like, oh, well, we blew the whistle. So Denver may have stopped playing. They may have stopped trying to stop you.
Well, the progress was stopped, but I don't know. And by the way, Nance just like, who's got possession? Who's got possession? Like, the play was already dead.
I don't know, Jim.
Jim, I don't know. Jim, I don't know what's going on here.
Well, but that aside, let me, just to finish the point, what I was going to say is when you're a backup quarterback, you're not necessarily expected to win the game, but what you can't do is lose the game. And that one play most likely lost them the game. So you could argue that, now, that's not to say Bo Nix couldn't have easily made the same mistake. I mean, that could have happened to anybody. But looking back on it, yes, because, he did make the mistake that most likely cost them the game. In addition to Sean Payton's decision not to take a field goal.
Dino, I'll raise you one on the stats. The Patriots were, I believe, 0-4 in Denver in the postseason. And
Brady never won there.
If you can believe that, that's incredible.
So Drake May did something for a change that Tom Brady's never done before.
Who would have thunk that, right? Let's, guys, move to the bar brawl moment. We'll stay with this game, though. As Nick alluded to, though, Drake May passes for 86 yards and wins a conference title is a bar fight stat if I've ever seen one. The Pats are winning ugly, and they don't care who hates it. Morgasen, is New England actually good, or are they just the most disciplined group of mutters we've seen since the, 2000 Baltimore Ravens?
They're a good team. No one's debating that. But they've won all these games so far defensively, as I continue to say, that if their defense doesn't hold down teams, the 86 yards the other night does not get it done. They would have been clobbered if it wasn't for the defense. Also, it helped that they played in a blizzard, and that stopped most of the scoring. But give the Patriots some credit, because Drake May's had an incredible year. He's going to finish second in the MVP voting behind Matthew Stafford, who had an unbelievable year for a 37-year-old quarterback. Drake May's going to be in the MVP discussion for many years to come, I feel like. And the Patriots are in a good spot now with Drake May and Vrabel being their head coach. He's going to be there for a very long time. I thought Stephon Diggs was an incredible pickup. Leave that to the cursed franchise of the Buffalo Bills again, who can't do anything right, and they let their guys go. But he's been an incredible ad. Stevenson's been an incredible running back for them. So if they can continue to be a really good defensive team and Drake May just gets the job done right now, maybe they have a chance. But Seattle's a juggernaut.
I do think so. Dino, your thoughts here again. Drake May passes for 86 yards and still wins an AFC championship. The Pats have been winning ugly. Now, Dino, before I give you the floor real quick, I have to share, I saw a pretty funny social media reel today on Instagram, cruising the feed today. Nick, it was of the episode where SpongeBob and Patrick went to Glove World to ride the fiery Fisto Pain roller coaster.
Yes.
And it's the stupid scene of them riding with the little kid around the little track. There's like the little up and down. And literally it was like all these like not excuses, but like, here's how the Patriots got to a Super Bowl. Playoff Justin Herbert, CJ, I throw 4 interceptions, Stroud, and the Broncos playing Denver in a blizzard. I thought the reel was funny. That's all I'm getting at. And then I had like other things though. Like there was the intro to the Mickey Mouse Club on Disney Channel intro, and it was all based off of the Patriots winning the AFC Championship about, hey, strength of schedule. Hey, you played the Chargers in the playoffs. You played them. Dino, regardless though, your thoughts about, again, how the Patriots won this game though, and about, as Nick said, who cares about 86 yards though? Defense usually wins you championships.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are making a little bit too much about how easy their schedule was. I mean, yes, they had an easy schedule, but, you know, they still had to win those games. I mean, let's not forget, they actually lost.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think just in general, to wrap up here, we'll move on to our next segment. The Seahawks are the official favorites, if you ask me. Sam Darnold is playing the best football of his life, and the 346 masterpiece against the Rams proved that he's no longer a project. He is now a problem. The Pats, New England is also a dangerous mutter team, but he can't win a Super Bowl with 86 passing yards in 2026. The bill is coming due probably for the Patriots at the Super Bowl. Again, 2 weeks' time, February 8th from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, as we surpass the 101 viewers here, about a half hour into the lounge here until 9 o'clock Pacific and midnight Eastern. Nick and Dino will segue from all things NFL to all things college football as we empty the beverage. The story, guys, let's recap last Monday's victory. Number 1, Indiana 27, and number 10, Miami 21. The Hoosiers finish off the season 16-0 for their first ever national title. Fernando Mendoza's 4th and 4 touchdown dive is the new Hickory High moment for the state of Indiana, and Kurt Cignetti is the greatest hire in college football history. Period. End of story. Nick, the question, though, for this segment is simple. Does this title now prove that the 12-team playoff actually favors the elite number 1 seed, or is Indiana's victory a once-in-a-century anomaly from your perspective?
It's not a once-in-a-century anomaly. I think Indiana is going to be an incredible team for the next 5 or 7 years. Kurt Cignetti is an incredible coach. I mean, where'd he come from? Wisconsin?
JMU and
or
somewhere
JMU.
else.
You're right,
JMU. Somewhere else.
He's an incredible coach. He's going to be an incredible coach now for the next, I would say, 10 years. And all these rumors that that we're saying, oh, he might take an interview with the Steelers. go be the next head coach. Like, stop. He's not leaving Indiana. It's like what Nick Saban did in Alabama, or it's like what Dabo did in Clemson. I mean, he's going to stay for as long as he wants. Like, they're not going to fire him. Like, he's an amazing coach. A little cocky at times, yeah, but at the same time, now he's got to work on rebuild. Now that Mendoza's gone, the Heisman Trophy winner. Was it a good game? Yeah, it was a good game. It stayed a lot closer than I thought. I said it was either going to be a massive blowout by Indiana or was going to be very close. Miami was never going to win this game. I don't think they ever were. They didn't have the firepower, even though they were playing in their home stadium for the national championship at Hard Rock Stadium. But I don't know. I mean, they got to rebuild. They got to find a new quarterback. They got to do everything in their power to get back to possible defending champion status for the national championship. And that's a hard thing to do. But now that you won a title, more players are going to want to go there now, currently.
Dino, we segue over to the Indiana victory over Miami last Monday to kind of put a bow on this. We didn't get a chance to do it last Monday because I was away last week at a hockey game. But again, though, Dino, Indiana won 27-21 to finish off a 16-0 season for their first ever national title. Again, Dino, I think that Indiana they have to be probably one of the best feel-good stories probably in recent college football memory. For the fact of, again, we all know Indiana as a basketball school. We know them for the Hickory High Hoosiers movie, God Bless Gene Hackman's Soul, one of my favorite basketball movies of all time. But here, though, Dino, they take a bit of a gamble on a JMU coach named Curt Cignetti. And there was that very famous tweet that kept going around, though, leading up to the national title game. Like, hey, here's a picture of the football stadium. The year before, I think Cignetti came there, or his first year there, they won 4 games, and the stadium is like maybe 20% full. Now, all of a sudden, though, great coach, great quarterback, great receivers. They go down into probably, I think, their toughest game of the whole year, it felt like. They go down to Miami, have to play the Hurricanes in their home stadium for the national championship. And thankfully, as Nick said, the game was close. Because again, a lot of people, myself included, even thought, if Indiana goes up early, like 3-7, 10-0, man, this game's over. And again, props to Carson Beck and the Canes for keeping the game close until that ill-advised throw to end the game. So, Dino, your takeaway, though, from the national championship, but also what this victory, from your perspective, means for Indiana. Again, basketball state, basketball school, now can say, hey, we're a football powerhouse now, from your perspective, your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have imagined Indiana winning the national title. Certainly not this year, but they, like you said, they got a coach that I guess, that people respect. They was able to get them good recruits, and they just turned it around, and somehow they ended up being the best team in the country. And now because of that, it's going to definitely help their recruiting for the future, and they could definitely establish themselves as a powerhouse in the Big Ten.
I mean, that Big Ten, though, Ohio State's going to reload. Michigan's going to reload eventually. I mean, Indiana's top dog right now, and I think Nick's right, though. You hope it's not a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. I guess, Nick, that does, though, bring me to a carryover question from the past weekend, I believe, or the weekend leading up to the national title game. We did hear reports, though, of the CFP committee did meet, and I believe they met with, the Big Ten, SEC, all the bigwig commissioners. I believe I saw the report, though, they are not going to expand the playoff field. It's going to stay at 12 teams again for 2026. We'll probably, I think, go to 16, maybe 14 first, then 16.
16.
So it will be 16. So, Nick, I guess your thoughts, though, about, we had heard, though, from the PR perspective, literally and figuratively, from both PR and from our show on Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. here on ETB, we had kind of heard rumblings that they were going to either go to 14 maybe at first and go to 16, but inevitably, though, Nick, we're going to stay at 12 teams, though, for the upcoming playoff field. But I believe, though, there are going to be some tweaks being made to how they actually pick the top 6 of the top 5 seeds.
Well, then you have the stupid Notre Dame nonsense that if they're in the top 12, they're guaranteed a spot. And Johnny, who is our Notre Dame fan here on the network, he's he said even as Notre Dame fan, he doesn't like the rule about that Notre Dame is guaranteed a spot if they're in the top 12. No one should be guaranteed anything. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I also don't want to hear about the Power Four, which are these teams that shouldn't even be guaranteed spots because they're not good enough to be in the college football playoff to begin with. I mean, just even it out. And by the way, and Callan knows my thoughts, and Nick D knows my thoughts on this. Enough with voting on the spots. If your record is better than other teams, you should be higher ranked in the college football playoff rankings. I don't care if you're Alabama. I don't care whatever team you are. It doesn't matter. If you're undefeated, you're undefeated. You have the best record. You look at any other sport, what do we judge everybody on? Whoever has the best record. Right. With most wins, and the team that has the most losses is out. Okay? So this nonsense has got to stop. Notre Dame, just because they make all this money and they have a deal with NBC, means nothing. Zero. Nothing. If they have 4 losses, which is what 3 losses technically eliminates you for voting purposes. But
unless you're Alabama.
Don't even get me started. But
I know, but Zan Bando, to his credit, though, mentioned, I believe, and I know that, Nick obviously, blew a gasket, rightfully so, though, from his perspective, because I think, though, that what Zan had said, though, is that third loss, I believe, came it wasn't in the conference title game, but they lost 3 games, though, but they were perceived, though, as a 2-loss team with, the extra loss, whatever it was. Again,
what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean? And again, I don't watch football in general.
Wait a minute.
I don't understand it either.
If your record has 3 losses, how are you perceived as a 2-loss team?
Yeah.
The record speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's 3 losses, whether or not it's whether it is Alabama or Appalachian State. 3 losses is 3 losses.
We know the NCAA is a corrupt organization. Okay, we know this already. They want Notre Dame in, obviously, because it's going to do better for ratings. That means the games are going to be on NBC. Then eventually with ESPN. They know where their bread is buttered when it comes to money in that scenario. Okay, and so they know what they're doing. And they're going to say, no. Like, we put Notre Dame, or we didn't put Notre Dame in because of this or that or the next thing. And we put Alabama in because they deserve to be there. No, they didn't. They had 3 losses.
I mean, the only thing I will agree with is that Miami beating Notre Dame head-to-head was the perfect thing or only thing that they got right. Until Notre Dame joins the ACC as a full-time member in football, then they don't need to be given special permission or special privileges. How about that?
Well, first of all, Notre Dame should pick a conference and then not BS the ACC commissioner and say, you guys didn't defend us when we should have made it. Well, next time don't opt out of a bowl game because you look like a complete asshole because your feelings were hurt because you didn't get into the CFP.
I mean, well, and the fact, though, the reason why they said that is because every other sport they play, not named football, is in the ACC.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a little embarrassing that
it is embarrassing?
It's
you know why it's embarrassing? Because it's Notre Dame. It's the brand name of Notre Dame embarrassing themselves in this fashion, one way or another.
I'm going to say something. Because on that logic, if we're going to look at it in other sports, should the Yankees make the playoffs every year? Should the Cowboys make the playoffs every year?
Lakers, the Rangers.
If you're gonna do this on branding, you might as well put the Yankees, the Mets in for the baseball playoffs every year. You put the Lakers and the Clippers in the playoffs every single year. Put the Knicks in. What's the point? And that's where the whole small market edition came from.
And one reason why that there is a particular patron who's banned from this bar on this network.
But my point is, if you're going to go brand and you're going to say Alabama with 3 losses, Notre Dame,
Georgia, Miami, I don't know.
No, but Notre Dame calling for change because their feelings were hurt because they were not put in the playoffs. And now they want to expand the playoffs and have a guarantee that if they're in the top 12, they make it.
Yeah, and I think that loophole is beyond ridiculous because, the new Pac-12 is starting up next season, and they're not even guaranteed a spot. They have to compete with the JMUs of the world to get into the playoff next year.
I'll give you one more. Imagine in the NFL if they guaranteed top team spots before the playoffs happen. You know how much outrage there would be by certain fan bases if that happens.
The Chiefs in 6 and 11. They're getting in as the number 1 seed.
No, but I'm serious. Like, imagine if like the Chiefs were guaranteed a spot.
Yeah, and that's what
I mean, if anything, the NFL does the opposite, because just think about it. An 8 and 9 team made it, whereas like 10-win teams didn't make it.
Which the division champion argument went to Nick and Zan's other rant, though, on ETB Sports about, I don't care if you're a division champ, the Rams were a 12-win team, and they have to go play an 8-win team who was a game under 500, all because they won the NFC South Division Championship.
Well, what is it? SVP said it on SportsCenter by rule. Someone has to win the NFC South. So, I mean, but that's outrageous. You're telling me that a 12-win team has to go on the road to Carolina that probably doesn't even deserve to be there? No offense to Panthers fans. But
well, and tell that to Peyton Manning in 2008, the 11-win Colts had to come to 8-8 San Diego for a wild card game because the Chargers won the AFC West Division Championship.
And that's the problem.
Game too, believe it or not.
They should reseed once they get inside the playoffs. If at least maybe after, I would say after the wild card, they should reseed, because those games are that's based off how you get into the playoffs. But after the wild card round, they should reseed, because it's not fair to some teams that are 12-win, 13-win teams, and they're traveling on the road. And the Rams almost lost that game too,
which is more hysterical because I think they were 10.5-point favorites.
Yeah, Carolina covered by spades.
I don't know, fellas. I mean, the more that we talk about the CFP bracket, the more I just think, though, is this thing ever going to work, because of how we have seen time and time again, seeds 1 through 5 or 1 through 4 who get home field, how often they lose those games after having the bye.
They want to do 24 teams at one point.
Which, by the way, Fox Sports missed me with the BS, because they had a hypothetical 24-team tournament bracket they shared after every single week of the season. Like, don't even go down that rabbit hole. Get out of here.
It's bad. I mean, first of all, what's next? Are we going to turn the CFP into March Madness? Is that where we're heading down the road to?
Man.
I mean, what was it? March Madness, they wanted like 124 teams or 144 teams at one point. Like, it was what we're adding a full extra tournament on top of what the actual teams are.
Before you know it, it's like a second season pretty much, you know.
And the problem is with those teams, you're looking at teams that like have no business being in March Madness whatsoever. They're going to get beat by like 50 or 60 points in the first round. And you're going to be like, was this really worth putting on TV? And then on top of that, remember, March Madness, the broadcast teams broadcast 3 games a day. They don't have a broadcast team for each game that moves forward. So what are you going to do? You're going to make them broadcast 4 games a day? Is
5,
that what
6,
5?
7,
like
8?
It's a nightmare.
Instead of it only being on like Thursday through Sunday, it'll just be on all week. It'll just be on like Monday through
7
Sunday.
days a week of basketball.
They would love that, though. That's more airtime for them.
I mean, I'll be frank. I love the first, like, what, two days probably, Nick, of the tournament, because you got all the games.
Are like the best part of it, actually. But
the first 2 days where you get all the dramatic close games and potential upsets. But you know what? I feel like NIL kind of ruined the tournament a little bit, though, too, because now you have guys like floating left and right. I don't want to be here. At least they changed the rule now that they're not going to open the portal window for college basketball till after the tournament is over.
And it's only 15 days, not 30 now, too. They've even shortened it on top of moving until, as I've long said, after the national championship game is concluded. So hallelujah for that.
Yeah, but remember how pissed off you and I got last time around, like when we saw that a team was still in. It was a major team, too, wasn't it? I don't remember who. Michigan. One of their players jumped ship while they were still in the tournament. That, first of all, that should not be allowed.
And on top of, go ahead, Dino.
No, I mean, I don't even know exactly who you're talking about, but that definitely shouldn't be allowed. I mean, if you're still playing for one team for a national championship, how are you allowed to switch teams?
Well, it's not that they were allowed to just switch on the spot, but they were looking to jump already, which is crazy. But It's what NIL has caused. Now everyone's just a free agent.
And I was going to say and mention real quick here, and I'm sure Nick and I will talk more about this on Wednesday, but Saturday night marked the first time I had one of the NBA G League defectors play at Santa Clara University. Very weird environment. Like, just weird, though, to be announcing a guy who was a former Delaware Blue Coat able to come back and play in college basketball. I mean, I'll leave it at that for right now. But we'll talk more about that later on. But with that, though, guys, let's empty the glass and pour a double for Curt Cinghetti, shall we? Indiana not just win a title. They broke the sports hierarchy by going 16-0. They proved that elite coaching and a Google me attitude beat the transfer portal stars every time. They are right now the new gold standard of the Big Ten, at least in 2025, 2026. All right, guys, to bench money we go. Let's recap UFC 324. Justin Gaethje defeats Paddy Pimblett via this is a unanimous decision for the lightweight or interim lightweight title from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mr. Morgasen, Paddy survived 25 minutes of Gaethje's power. Is he a future champ still, or did he just prove that he has a world-class chin and nothing else to prove or offer?
So he's a great personality. Let's start there. He's got one of the best. He's on social media. He's done it all. He's had some connection to Barstool with Dave when they did some of those deals they made. Great personality, A+ personality. He can bark with the rest of them. I think he was kind of set up partially for failure in this main event. Gaethje is the experienced fighter. Gaethje's been around the block. He was the interim title holder, even though I think both of them were swinging wild arms. It looked like a slap fight at one point.
I heard a lot of people say that on social media about this fight. I was a little surprised.
It was just like they were just swinging their arms away, like what's that? An inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Oh,
like,
the inflatable dance cam from Playback.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it literally looked like an inflatable arm flailing tube man. Like at one point, they were just swinging fists left and right. But Gaethje, when he connected on Pimblett's face, he and by the way, I got to give Paddy credit because he stayed in there the whole fight. He got knocked down a few times. He almost got KO'd in the first round, but he'll be fine. He's 31 years old. He's younger than most of us. So he'll make a return. But Dana White made a good point that when he's the underdog, he fights way better than being the favorite. But this is the first time he's ever been a favorite on a UFC card before. So he'll be back. I think he'll be fine. Like I said, he's 31. I don't think he'll be on the White House card that's coming up at the end of June. I think Gaethje will now be on that White House card now that he is the interim title holder. But it was a great card. I only watched the main card. The other fights I could care less about. The undercard. You want the undercard? Watch MMA Outsiders. There's your cheap plug. But the main card was great. Derek Lewis looked lost. By the way, the heavyweight bout. He was sweating from the bell when it started. I don't know what happened with him. He just looked lost. His opponent, Waldo, whatever his name is.
Where's Waldo?
He didn't sweat one bit. Like he was just moving around with Derek Lewis, and I thought like he was going to pass out from like dehydration and sweat. But you know what? Yes. But otherwise, I think the card was great. Paramount Plus did a good job. It was their first card. I think it was 5 million viewers. At one point, it peaked at almost 5.1. I heard they made decent money. There was too many commercials, someone said. The debate I'll ask you guys is, if you're paying for a premium product, which is what this is, you're paying for Paramount Plus, should there be commercials in it?
No. If you're paying for no ads or paying premium pricing, there should be no ads.
Yeah. I think it's bad.
Dino?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you are paying for it, then there shouldn't be ads. But I mean, obviously there's different tiers, but like if you're watching a live event, I don't think it really matters what tier you're in. Everybody's watching the same event at the same time.
Well,
so if they're going to put commercials, that's that's because they know they can, I guess.
Here's what's frustrating. I don't know, Callan and Dino, if you watched any of it, but constantly throughout each bout, you hear them constantly doing 10-second, 12-second live reads of live product during. And I'm like, then why do you need the commercials for if you're going to do all the live reads during the bouts? There's no reason. I mean, and it's the same stuff that you're seeing in the commercials. Whatever the live reads were what most of the commercials were defied. Now, some of it, they don't have a choice because they have to have a transitional break between each fight ending and the next fight entering the arena. So they need some kind of break, but they could also put packaging together and do something in the middle of each fight to fill the time. They're not that desperate for money.
I'm wondering how that might change when they have the cards on actual CBS in the future.
When it's on CBS, they have to run commercials because it's on TV.
But
now it's also going to be on Paramount Plus. That's the customer that's going to get screwed because if they're watching it and say they don't have CBS, which if you don't have CBS, that's on you. But most TVs have CBS. Most TVs have ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox locally. So my assumption is that if it's on TV, 99.9% of the world can probably watch it. But that's the customer that's going to get screwed if they're watching it. Maybe they're just a cord cutter and they don't have TV and they're watching on an app.
A lot of those now.
And I have YouTube TV. I don't technically have cable anymore, which has been a blessing and a curse. Callan knows. But you know what? Overall, they did a good job. They did have a little bit of a technical snafu right off the top. Buffer was forgetting names and in the intro, which was kind of weird to watch. But you know what? There's a first time for everything, right? So, like I said, 5.1 million views for the first card on Paramount Plus. Not bad.
Not bad. Dino, any thoughts you'd like to pass along?
I mean, 5.1 million, that is pretty good for a streaming, for a streaming event. I would say that's definitely a good rating. I didn't watch the event myself, but that definitely, I heard it was definitely a good card, some good matches. Kudos to Paramount.
I mean, that many viewers, and as Nick and I long have talked about, where we're at now. Again, we do this every Wednesday on Press Row at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. About where the media landscape has gone. That's a pretty good, good starting point, I think, for the UFC getting involved with the new CBS Paramount deal that they did sign. I guess, though, guys, just in general, to wrap up the UFC argument, though. Gaethje should not have had to fight for an interim belt ever again, or shouldn't have to fight for an interim belt ever again. Most exciting athlete in combat sports, and he is right now top shelf with this. But I think, though, Nick, I also give a lot of praise, though, again to Paddy Pimblett, though, probably just for the fact, though, Nick, of how this man for the last 4 years now has been one of the lead advocates for men's mental health, though, whenever it's pre-fight, post-fight, props to him, though, for being in such a violent sport and being able to speak up about mental health, though, in the process, too. Bravo to him.
Yeah, he nailed that one to a T. A lot of times, and I give UFC a lot of credit because, excuse me, when they do the post-fight interviews, they give the fighters a chance to say a message, a dedication, whatever. And I think he had someone on his team that did it recently, and that's why he had brought it up. Yeah, he's an incredible guy. Originally, he was just a personality guy, and no one knew he was a great fighter. He will be back. He'll learn. You don't win on your first of all, that was his first ever main event title match ever. So you learn.
I mean, he had to have nerves up to wazoo.
I mean, his face afterwards showed you how tough he is. But Gaethje's on the way out. In fighting years, he's on the older side at 37, which some people say is that old. Yeah, in fighting years, that's old. But I think if I had it my way, I think Gaethje's going to go out fighting on the White House card, and that he'll hopefully, whatever that matchup is, it could be, there's a few guys it could be, but I don't know if Patty had won, I think he would have made the White House card. But I don't know how he makes it now.
Agreed. With that in mind, folks, welcome to hour 2 of the ETB Lounge here. Already, we say this every time. The show just flies by here within the ETB Lounge every Monday and Saturday, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Pacific to 7 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'm all over the place. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. As you now, though, do in fact welcome in our good man Ben Kruse for hour 2. Ben, first and foremost, how about some Cliff Notes reaction to the Pats going back to the Super Bowl?
Well, thank you guys for having me, first of all. And second of all, it's absolutely incredible. Still trying to sink it in right now. Obviously after, the way that the Pats are able to do it. But obviously they show that in this playoffs that it wasn't going to be easy, no matter what the narratives are going to say. And they won in different ways. That the second half this year, where their offense really kind of carried them for a lot of these games, and the playoffs this year, they faced a lot of tougher defenses, and the offense had a little more of a struggle, and the defense was the biggest factor to where we are. So it feels great. It's 12. Super Bowl appearances now, which is just absolutely unprecedented. It's not normal. I'll say here and say I'm spoiled. I'm not going to sugarcoat it whatsoever. That's just something that you can't put into words. And Seattle's gonna be a really, really good team. I think they're favored right now by 4.5. Regardless of what happens, I think that this is kind of telling that it's a really special group. It's bringing Mike Vrabel, what I knew was going to be a great hire. I didn't expect it to be where we are right now. I was expecting to just play some meaningful football and win the division and stuff. But, here we are. And now it's for a chance to go for glory.
By the way, I think, and because we were on last night, but the other weekend version, I love Liam, but I think he kind of overreacted to the whole scheduling snipe. And Ben, well, I had agreed with you.
Point, I respect it, but I definitely wanted to have my other counterpoint to it for sure.
But I defended you right off the bat because I think this whole scheduling thing is ridiculous. That you play the games that are on your schedule, okay? And you said it best. Like, we're damned if we win the games, and we're damned if we don't win the games. Like, so what is considered the bar for this Patriot team? I mean, the Super Bowl. If they win the Super Bowl, that would be the bar. But what are you supposed to? How do you characterize? Because it seems like Patriots they can't win one way or the other in the argument.
Yeah. And that kind of went to my point, though, as I said, Nick, with the whole meme of the fiery Fisto Pain SpongeBob episode of Patrick and SpongeBob on that little kiddie roller coaster, with the toddler in front of them, and people, when they get to the little whoop, on the up the daisy, it's, you played playoff Justin Herbert. You had C.J. Stroud throw 4 interceptions. You
still got to win.
Knicks. Again, who gives a crap? You play who's on the schedule, whether you like it or not. So again, miss us with the BS about strength of schedule. They're going to the Super Bowl
because the narratives on the other side of things have been like, well, if we lost any of these playoff games, like, see, this is what happens when you play an easy schedule, and if we lost against a backup, the trolls are going to happen no matter what.
Exactly. I
think just the people have to kind of accept the fact is like, wait, they were just in a Brady and Belichick left about. A good now 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think people are just realizing the fact is like, wait, like this shouldn't happen. Like the Patriots shouldn't be back in the Super Bowl this quickly. And so I think people are trying to make everything that they can say in their power. And
they're trying to find all the excuses they can to go from now we're going to go from Chiefs hate now. We're going back to Pats hate now all of a sudden.
Well, you said it also, Ben, that defense is your strength right now. I think it is. Don't get me wrong.
Championships, defense.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That I mean, don't get me wrong. You had Tom Brady all those years. That's nice and in the strength of things. But your defense has anchored you through this playoff run. I think if it wasn't for and also the blizzard partially helped. But
but can't control the blizzard either.
You can't control the blizzard, but at the same time, and I'm curious your thought, because you probably watched this more closely than most of us, but did you notice that the Patriots were not willing to take the points, even though it was nearby impossible? They rather throw the ball away and punt away, which I thought was actually pretty smart in the scheme of things. Kick it, play defense, and let the chips fall where they may, right?
Yeah, no, it was completely a field position game. It really reminded me of the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, in which everybody absolutely hated that game as well. Not a lot of points, but it basically was kind of a Belichickian masterclass by Vrabel and company of, like, we don't care what the people want, right? You know, we don't care if it's a high-scoring game, low-scoring game. We just want to find a way to win. And in this type of game, you know, the elements obviously were a massive big factor. And, you know, I thought that – and people want to say that Drake May got hurt, you know, with his apparently his shoulder. Everything that I've been reading, I think he's fine. Heck, he was carrying his luggage bag off the plane today when he was getting back with his specific shoulder that he apparently hurt.
I don't know if that means anything yet, but
but he definitely would have had something, you know, for sure. I mean, Brady definitely a lot of these Super Bowls when he was on their injury report, they obviously had to put something there. I mean, time will tell. You know, I hope nothing would be crazy serious that at least I see, but. He did run for that first down, and then of course he just went crazy with that arm. So obviously, I think that they would have been a lot more limited too for him to run as well if there wasn't more of that. But
as long as he doesn't have fumble issues, I think they'll stay in this game. Yeah. By the way, and Callan, I don't know if Dino, I don't know if you saw this yet. Did you see the weird the poster graphic that was going around on social media?
Where the conspiracy theory of having May and Darnold as the first two guys looking at the Super Bowl logo?
Yes.
And May was actually like front and center, if you notice. Like
he's front and center, and Darnold was to his left.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to feel jinxed at all, but front and center kind of feels good to me. I don't know.
They always used to talk about the logo, like the colors in the logo symbolizing which teams, but like this year the logo has like a whole bunch of colors. So
there's probably some red and some navy blue in there.
What are you talking about?
Well, but there's also a bunch of other colors too. So I think people went away from the logo and they had to find some kind of other conspiracy theory, and they found this.
You're talking about the Super Bowl 60 graphic?
Yeah,
it's actually funny because the new phone lock screen is.
So the one I'm seeing, it's like pink.
Right,
it's like.
here. Sorry, hold on.
It's like pink and blue and yellow. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. So it's pink and blue, and it's like the rainbow. So there's no exact color in the graphic.
You said blue, and both teams have blue in their color palette, sir.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you. What? No, but the weird thing that was going on, Ben knows this probably better than most, is remember like for, what was it, like a 10 or 15 year stretch? Like there was like an incredible luck when it came to the colors that they knew who was going to be it. Well, they didn't know
I don't think it was that long. It was like maybe 3 years.
What? No, I think it was closer to 7 or 8, maybe. But for some reason, the color schemes were coming out to match the Super Bowl teams,
and that's back when they only had like 2 colors in the symbol. This year they have like 5, 6 colors in the symbol. So.
It looks like the rainbow. I'm wondering if, by the way, this might be a conspiracy. Does this have anything to do with Bad Bunny being in the halftime show?
No, I wrote in last night too. Don't forget, Green Day's also performing before the game too,
which a lot of people. I'm a fan.
That show.
I'm a fan.
They are from the Bay Area.
I'm a fan, but apparently a lot of people were not happy with that news that Green Day was performing. I don't know why, but I'd rather have them as the halftime show.
I wish they were. Yeah.
Didn't they do it one year with the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I think
that was Bruno Mars at MetLife.
Oh, was it? Oh, I don't think. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Ben.
Go ahead.
No, I wasn't really going much place. You go.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you guys hear about the Drake May Super Bowl story, by the way, when he was a kid?
Oh, in North Carolina, I think.
He went to Super Bowl 50, I think they said, as a 13-year-old.
When he was like a 13, 14, 15-year-old or whatever, he went to a Super Bowl, and it was in Santa Clara.
He sat in the upper deck. Yeah.
Now he fast. I mean, how can you not be romantic about sports, even for people that don't even like the Patriots, right? If I was not a fan of the Patriots, and I look at them like, that's pretty sick, right?
It is cool
because like you that's like a specific type of dream for a kid like that, and then to be actually like right in the field for a chance to
10 years later,
like 10 years later, it's like it's surreal where sports can take you.
I'm glad Ben brought that up because you folks probably can see in my office here, I have a lineup card from a random Padres game in April. That was when Joe Musgrove, my former youth ball and travel ball teammate, threw the first no-hitter in club history. I mean, to Ben's point, how can you not be romantic about baseball? You see one of your former teammates who's, homegrown, wearing his favorite team's jersey, throwing the first no-hitter in franchise history after all the near misses. So that's why that lineup card, which is a recopy, is in the office space here at this rate. Real quick from Zan, Gaethje would fight.
Jeff Paria. Yeah.
Oh, that would be something.
Look, he's out on leave right now because he's dealing with a divorce situation. So that's why there was an interim title bout for Gaethje.
Nick, we're going to just play a two-man game real quick for the back of the napkin, staying with UFC 324. Sugar Sean O'Malley won his fight via decision over Song Yadong. Nick, does a decision win keep Sean in the face of UFC conversation, or is his star power starting to fade away, perhaps behind the shadow of Mr. Nurmagomedov, in your opinion? Your thoughts?
No, he's in the spotlight right now. Great fight. Won by decision. Song put up a huge bout. That was his competitor, right? Song Yadong.
Yes.
By the way, did you see like those spinning back kicks? Like that was incredible. Like it looked like a yes. It looked like a oh god, what's the name of the movie? Karate Kid. Yes. Well, or it looked like Jackie Chan trying to do karate moves, but. But no, Sean is going to be in the spotlight for a very long time. Is he a little eccentric? Like I told Zan, yes, he is. Not even a lot eccentric.
Very, very much a flamboyant personality.
Yeah, so he's going to be in the spotlight. He's not going anywhere.
Now, I loved O'Malley when he was kind of first coming up because he would always do like the wacky things at the weigh-in to like that. I think he took a selfie with one of his opponents. They drank a shake together. Like he became one of my favorite guys with that. But on the back of a napkin though, fellas, O'Reilly Auto Parts called O'Malley title run coming. Ow. Let's go with that. And I think Zan's right though about him almost finishing that thing. Props to Song for staying with it though all the way to the very end though. All right, guys, interesting segue here for the Under the Coaster segment. Fellas, Brooks Koepka is back this weekend and on the PGA Tour this weekend right here in San Diego at Torrey Pines at the famed Farmers Insurance Open. Of course, gentlemen, we know very well that Koepka left for LIV Golf in December and is returning via the new returning member program, which is open until February 2nd. He is playing Torrey Pines, a course, though, where he has missed out on 3 cuts in his career, and he has historically struggled. Ben Kruse, you're the golf guru here. Is Brooks Koepka returning to the PGA Tour to reclaim the world #1 spot, or is he simply looking for a more competitive environment before the Masters comes around, coming up in April in Augusta, Georgia?
Yeah, I think number 2, the option, I think is pretty clear. I think, him really struggling at Torrey Pines. You see a lot of top golfers that have just courses that they just cannot be good at. It just doesn't matter no matter what they are. Dustin Johnson or Phil Mickelson, even Tiger has had a lot of really tough courses that he has not been effective at. So I think it's kind of more the factor is he wants to go back to, the PGA, doing the scheduling probably. And I think, for Brooks, he obviously is one of the best golfers. And I think when you talk about the LIV and the PGA, people obviously are starting to call it more on the LIV more and more as the years goes on, but PGA is still king when you kind of look at it. It's like, at NHL, and then you look at kind of there's of course the other leagues for hockey, but what does people look at the biggest? That's NHL as a king, right? So I think that he wants to kind of go back into an environment where I think that he looks at as kind of a higher elevation of playing for golf. And I think to go to a specific spot where he has struggled for his first event, kind of going back into the league, I think is kind of a motivator for him. And, maybe kind of some of that time off into a different type of atmosphere and setting while still playing the game. I think that maybe if he wants to come back to the PGA and maybe kind of get kind of his, I want to say like career back on track, but maybe kind of like his overall mojo back, because for a while he definitely was up there, ranking wise in terms of like consistency. And, and recently it just has not kind of been that way for him. He's missed a lot more cuts than he's made. So I think for him to come back, I'll be very curious to see how that goes this weekend, especially since there's no football this weekend. Who needs the Pro Bowl anyway? So I'll be tuning in and seeing how he does. But I think it's more of option two, Callan. You asked me that he wants to return more kind of for the atmosphere and for his overall game himself.
Ben, I got one more question I want to ask you, because this has kind of been like in my head, because this is the first time that an LIV golfer has come back to the tour. Again, as Nick and I pointed out on Press Row a couple weeks ago, they have like a soccer transfer window open until February 2nd, where anyone who reaches a certain threshold of wins or bonus money or tournament championships would be allowed to come back to a tournament. They got to pay a bunch of penalties, though, as Nick and I talked about last Wednesday on Press Row. Ben, though, from your perspective, this has been my big burning question. Will Brooks Koepka get applauded or booed when he steps up to the tee, though, on Thursday here in San Diego, in your opinion, from the fan base?
Oof. I'll probably go with more of a cheer if I had to go with. I really don't see a situation. I mean, unless he's going into an overall environment place in which it's just kind of people hate him. I think for many golfers, of course, a lot of them have the baggage, and of course, that's kind of the overall feel of if you're going to go back to the tee and you have a certain place or situation that maybe happened, maybe it's a different story, but there's going to be probably mixed. I mean, there's a lot of people in golf, fan wise, that of course have more of their favorites than others, but I do think that there's probably going to be a pretty decent more of a cheer than boos for sure. I think that they're going to kind of welcome in with open arms and hope that he does welcome him back.
Dino, what do you think about this whole situation? Obviously, it's a golfer who was on the PGA Tour, left for, as Ben kind of said, though, my long argument, though, you leave for the rival organization in some way. Again, I talk about, AFL versus NFL all those years, the ABA and the NBA, the NHL and WHA for all those years, and how guys would be could be cherry picked away. Dino, how probably, though, do you think fans in San Diego, maybe even not even here, but on the tour now with Koepka coming back after the year-long plus of him being away, playing for LIV, we know about their issues again with the Saudi-backed public investment fund, the blood money, as Nick and I call it on Press Row, the different golf formats, though, and just him being away for so long. How do you think that a fan base, not just here, but I think any tour coming up, though, or any stop coming up, how do you probably see the fans treating Koepka? Will they cheer for him coming back? Will it be, like a mixture maybe of cheers and boos? Will there be more boos in certain markets? Like Ben probably knows, the Waste Management Open is coming up in Phoenix, Arizona. Those fans can be pretty relentless, during certain parts of the tournament. But Dino, how would you probably, characterize Koepka's return, though? Cheers, boos, mixed bag. What do you think?
I mean, it might be a mixture. There's some fans who might not appreciate that he left and came back. And there's others that just won't care as much. So I could see it being a mixture. I mean, obviously people have different opinions about this. Some just don't like that, as you said, they consider it blood money coming from the Saudis. And so they don't like that a lot of people left purely for the money rather than the love of the sport. And there's obviously some golfers that have been very much against LIV, like Rory McIlroy. He's very much, he's been very outspoken in defending the PGA Tour. So yeah, I could see it being a mixture and like you said, it may also depend on the venue and the fans at the venue.
Yeah, Nick, obviously, I'll probably be watching this fairly closely on Thursday. Thursday's my off day this week, away from work on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday to kind of, see, because I think ESPN said we're going to pick up the first round to show Koepka's return back to the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. But also, though, Nick, and I'm glad that Ben brought this up, though, too. Some guys have those courses. Some players have those, those stadiums or arenas. They just don't play well at it. And I have been to Torrey Pines. I went a couple years ago. to watch Tiger play. I got to follow him for his opening round. Yeah, but it was a spectacle. 30,000 people are at the first tee, watching Tiger.
It's an incredible course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and and Nick's right though. Torrey Pines though is a tough course to play. You've got the wind. You've got whenever it rains, you've got the soggy conditions. The rough is very thick. The greens
They delay a lot more in that tournament.
And they delay a lot more as well. So you have some factors, though. Again, the rough is very thick. You've got the coastal wind. You've got, obviously the sun's out, though, but you got that wind. You've got the rough, though. You've got the very much different breaking greens, though. The north and south courses can be, very much different from day one to day two. But I guess, though, Nick, your overall, perspective, because we've in a way, we have talked a lot, though, on Press Row regarding this particular move made, though. We talked about DeChambeau and Cam Smith and John Rahm. They all said no. We had to, DeChambeau's, smart ass remarks. I can go make more money with YouTube than I don't need the tour, need these major events, though. But Nick, again, your thoughts, though, about Koepka's return, though, but also how probably do you think, though, not just Torrey Pines, though, but other courses might be in a way treating him as the comeback tour begins, though, on Thursday from Torrey Pines here in San Diego?
Well, first, this has nothing to do with the actual courses. The courses are just part of whatever the tours that they're part of, whether it's the PGA Tour or part of Live. That's just the vehicle used to play the events. But I want to look back, and I have it here, is this PGA Tour's returning member program penalties.
We talked about on Press Row, I think, either last week or the week prior.
Which are absurd. They're absurd. Which the PGA Tour is taking advantage of guys who went from Live. And I want to ask everybody this, and Callan, I asked you this too. Have you ever heard of someone who goes to take a competitive offer, and then when they want to come back, they get penalized because they went to take more money for a competitive offer?
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
So that's like take the WNBA, which now has Unrivaled, and they have Project B, and what's the other one, Callan? I always forget.
Athletes Unlimited.
Athletes Unlimited. Is the W going to penalize those players for going to those competitive leagues? No, of course not. Because then they're going to really be up shit's creek without a paddle if they do that to WNBA players. But look at these penalties. Okay, one-time $5 million donation to charity. In what world can a competitive league say, oh, I don't like the fact that you went to the competitor, and if you want to come back here, you have to have a $5 million donation to charity, or you're ineligible for the player equity program. Now, Callan and I didn't know the answer. Ben, do you know what the player equity program is, the PGA Tour, or no?
Not really. I mean, I've heard about it, but I don't really know the.
I think it just has to do with building up like actual equity for the tour.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Nick, I got the answer for you.
Okay.
The PGA Player Equity Program, established 2 years ago, rewards players with equity grants based on their performance, and it has recently expanded to include the top 50 players in the 2026 FedEx Cup standings.
But as part of the players that went to Live, they're ineligible for the Player Equity Program from 26 to 2030.
Oh, wow.
And then on top of
That's a long time.
I didn't expect 4 years of that. Wow.
And then on top of that, now this one makes the most sense because they haven't been around on the tour this year. They're ineligible for the 2026 FedEx Cup bonus program. They haven't been on tour all year.
That makes sense.
That's the only part that makes any logical sense to anybody on this panel tonight.
And then the last one says it must commit to at least 15 co-sponsored or approved events. So now you're controlling them because you didn't like the fact they went to Live. Now, let me be very clear about one thing. I'm not a fan of Live. I don't like the way the representation is for Live. I don't like that Saudi Arabia is behind Live. The money is dirty. It's oil money from outside this country. That's all fair and makes total sense. But we live in the world of business. Okay? If there's more money, think about this now. If I was able to pay you guys now, and then another network came across and said, I'll give you double what I'm making, tell me what the logical answer is.
Logical answer is you go where there's more money.
Thank you. That's the point. So these contracts, and I looked it up just for context. The top 5 live golf contracts. Number 1, Jon Rahm, $300 million. Is Jon Rahm getting $300 million from the PGA Tour?
No.
Phil Mickelson, number 2, $200 million. Is Phil Mickelson getting $200 million from the PGA Tour?
Now.
Brooks Koepka, who we're talking about now, his contract was $130 million. Was he getting that at the current time that he was in the PGA Tour? No. Dustin Johnson, $125 million. Bryson DeChambeau, $125 million, which, by the way, he is the biggest idiot on the tour, in my opinion, now over at Live.
Bryson?
Yeah. Because
he's one of the best golfers in the game, and he's basically just losing his reputation playing for that league.
Right. And no one's
more. Thank you, Ben.
And no one's debating. He's an incredible golfer. No one's debating that. It's his attitude.
Ego. It's the ego and attitude, yes.
Oh, and obviously, speaking of Bryson, it's a great segue because, of course, of the feud that he had with Brooks, for years.
Yes.
Right? And now the fact is, well, apparently that they're kind of friends now, and it was a kind of real thing in the past. I don't know about that.
Wait, why?
You lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God! Stop you fucking lying!
Wait a minute. Is that because he went back to the PGA Tour?
No, they apparently just talked of course, more and more.
But here's the thing, and Bryson, first of all, is using such the old age argument. Oh well, I can make more money on YouTube, so I don't need the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
for this, that.
Have you seen the stuff with Bryson trying to hit golf balls over houses and stuff?
Yes, I have.
I'm like, bro, that's so dangerous.
That's not golf either.
No.
That's more just I'm rich and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, trying to hit into
because he's a raw pain in the ass.
Yeah, really.
I'm like, man.
But and originally I had said, "Oh, is the YouTube argument a good one?" And then, of course, when I checked it out during our Press Row episode, he does have 2.5 million YouTube subscribers. But
I'm not shocked.
But at the same time, so what? Go ahead. Go off into your corner. Do whatever you want. You've made your millions of dollars. No one cares.
Yep.
But for the PGA Tour to come out and say, if you want to come back on our tour, we're going to basically beat the living shit out of you with penalties. That's wrong on the PGA Tour's front. And if I was anybody, say I was on Live, and you were making me... First of all, I've never heard of someone saying, oh, you have to make a $5 million donation. Never heard that anywhere.
That's insane.
No.
You know what that is? That's the PGA Tour saying, "Oh, you're a millionaire. You just got your contracts from Live. Just slide the $5 million check under the door, and we'll be good." That's essentially what that is.
Sneak it underneath the door. It's
crazy too because Bryson is one of the top guys on the Ryder Cup team, and they just had the Ryder Cup this past year. And,
right.
There's a lot of guys honestly on the USA Ryder Cup team, which, by the way, they were really close to making a comeback.
There was controversy in there too, wasn't there?
Not really. No, I mean, the Europeans, the first 3 days were just crushing us.
No,
I mean, they were beating the Americans with the damn steel chair.
No, but I thought towards the end there was a controversy, on written paper or something. I thought there was.
I mean, there were a few. There were some antics though, as Nick and I talked about I think on Press Row.
Oh, was that the Rory thing?
Rory McIlroy's wife getting heckled. Yeah. Dustin Johnson, I think him and his caddy went after a couple of the players on the European team.
Why?
It got pretty messy there for at least one day, and then Rory clapped back, said, "Hey, read the damn scoreboard."
Yeah, no, because obviously it was in New York, and of course a lot of people were just going nuts.
It was at Bethpage Black. It's literally 20 minutes from me here.
Yeah.
But by the way, because I had to drive by it a few times, it was incredible the way they built the stands out. Because what's weird about Bethpage Black is it's over a street and it's on 2 sides. So the way they had to build this and not get hit by cars crossing the street, this is not exactly. By the way, it took them 3 months to take down all the stands. It was crazy. They couldn't get the stuff down.
Damn.
But one last thing I'll say. So it says here, how much does a live golf event pay out? And this is why some guys went over there. each event had a $20 million prize pool. What do you think of Ben? You would know this better. How much was the average prize pool approximately on a PGA Tour event?
Oof, I don't know.
Maybe a few million. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say a few million.
Definitely. So 20 million again, competitive money. First of all, and
I think 20 million is like top. I think like the tour championship, that's 20 million, but everything else is obviously less.
Except for the FedEx bonus, which I think is 20 or 25 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, like the tour championship,
and
FedEx Cup, whatever they call it now.
For those wondering, by the way, the payout for Sunday or for the Farmers Insurance Open is $1.728 million.
It's nothing compared to Live. Every event is 20 million for the Live. Why do you now? The other thing, and Ben could probably talk about this too on the tour. Why do these guys who've made millions of dollars? Why are they going to Live accepting these ridiculous contracts when they don't need that money?
Because they want to be rich.
They already are rich.
Yeah, well, they want it. They essentially want to go where the higher bag is. You look at the Dodgers, right? You know, the Dodgers want to spend the bag when talking about negotiations. Yeah. You say that, Nick, the way that it is, but it's unfortunately it's the fact.
The other one that's funny too. So Tiger Woods was made an offer to go to Live. He was offered $800 million.
Oh my god.
He already was a billionaire. His first billionaire. Well,
no, that's
I
crazy.
should say first.
That's nuts.
So Jordan, Tiger, I don't know who. I think Roger Federer was up there. They were like the three that really were like the billionaires of the time when it came to this sport. Can you imagine that? And by the way, Tiger said that meeting was like not even a few minutes. Like they walked in, they said, "Here's our offer," and he told them to get out. Apparently. Can you imagine someone coming into your office and say, "Hey, we're going to offer you an $800 million check to come play for Live Golf. All you have to do is just come play in our event, and that's it." It's absurd the amount of money that the Saudi Public Interest Fund has. Callan's mouth almost dropped when I told him how much the Public Interest Fund was worth now. It's worth $900 billion.
Yeah. Google. So Tiger was offered in 2022 a Live Golf contract in the range of 700 to 800 million, or potentially up to 1 billion to join the Saudi-backed league, which immediately he declined. The CEO of Live Golf, Greg Norman,
at the time,
confirmed the mind-boggling enormous offer, securing it. And then the reasoning: so Tiger rejected the offer due to his loyalty to the PGA and disagreement with the breakaway leagues, as stated reports from CBS.
And I said this to Callan, and I think he got it when I said it. $800 million compared to a $900 billion fund is chump change. They could reach into their pocket and say, "Here you go. Here's $800 million.
Yeah.
We'll make that up in oil money. Well, because the Saudi Public Interest Fund is all oil money. That's really all it is. And they said by 2030, that fund is going to be worth $2 trillion.
Make it make sense to me.
Yeah, I wish I could, Michael K., but I can't. I don't know. It's absurd the amount of money, and I think if we're not mistaken, because Callan, we talked about this too. They're invested in soccer teams. They're invested, I think, in a tennis league. Also, they're invested in gaming because that's a huge thing now. Esports, I think that's what the kids call it now.
Esports, yes.
It's really popular now.
But it's bad. The Saudi Public Interest Fund is taking over. I think they're involved in the WWE now. That's why the events are in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble, I think, is there on Saturday afternoon, I think.
And that's all because of Turk al-Sheikh and the Saudi Arabian, and Turkey also. But at the same time, like, I don't know how you put a stop to this public interest fund. You can't. It's only going to get stronger by 2030.
It's only going to get worse within the next 4 years. That's for sure. The verdict is in, though. Torrey Pines is the punishing Sal for a reason. Koepka is on the public tab this week. I expect him to miss the cut as he shakes off the exhibition rust of the last 3 years and gets himself ready for the Masters. All right, gentlemen, to bench confessionals, some overheard takes from local San Diego bars about the wide world of sports that I heard over the course of my Saturday evening. Mr. Morgasen, first up. Sam Darnold is better than Geno Smith ever was for Seattle. He will win Super Bowl MVP, and his past teams are going to regret letting him walk for the next decade.
That's a weird take. I'm not going to lie right there. Well, Sam Darnold is way better than Geno Smith. I'm just willing to admit that point blank. Don't get me wrong. Did Geno have a good stretch in Seattle until he got hurt? And that was pretty much the end of his run. And then he got obliterated to Las Vegas. And then has never been the same quarterback ever since. And now he's probably never going to play football again.
He crushes us for some odd reason, though. He looks at the Patriots and takes it personally. So if there's only one team he likes to play, it's us.
You're right. For some reason, he always beat the Patriots. Every other team,
and I took that personally.
He did take that personally.
No. Seriously, Colin, it's exactly right. It really is.
Every time in Jets games, he beat the crap out of the Patriots every single time.
Emotional damage.
Yeah.
But that's a wild kind of my opinion. Sam Darnold will be the better quarterback. He's probably just for my own sake, I think that Seattle's going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to be a close game. I'm willing to say that. But I just think that Seattle has too many weapons. But he's obviously going to be better than Geno. Geno never sniffed the playoffs, so to speak, at all. So, except for that one run with Seattle. But, yeah, Darnold's going to be moons above Geno Smith.
Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talked about this on the lounge last night too, about Sam Darnold, Nick D put up a great point. Is the Vikings must be kicking themselves of losing Sam Darnold because of the way that the Vikings were, and obviously JJ McCarthy, no knocks on JJ, but I think that Sam Darnold really kind of put that team kind of back into relevancy, and then here kind of happened, a year later, and things kind of went back to shit, but. I think with Geno, if you pretty much put the Patriots with Geno Smith the whole entire season, then, maybe he could be an MVP candidate. But, obviously, it's only one game of 15-16, and it's a cycle. Basically, once he's done playing us, then he's kind of going back to typical Geno. And so I think, with Sam Darnold, I'm looking at Sammy D's stats, guys, from the last two seasons. And in 2024, he had a 63% completion percentage. Hold on. Sorry, this is a postseason. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, in 2024 Minnesota, so obviously the same season, he had his best QBR rating in his whole entire career. So that's obviously just going back, a year ago. This whole entire season so far for Sam Darnold, a 99.1. So what does that basically tell me? Everything before that, I mean, I look at the QBR ratings from the Jets. Everything basically outside of 2022 in Carolina, he had pretty much a 90, less in QBR rating. And his interceptions definitely have decreased ever since that he's gone to a decent, place where he could excel. And I think that he's taking a lot less sacks. He's using his weapons to his ability. And this obviously this is not a knock on Nick's Jets, but I think that he kind of had to get out of that dumpster fire, kind of the way that things were kind of going. And he went to Carolina and he did pretty well, but then he went to Minnesota. He basically went to some places where I think he's kind of a very good system quarterback, where he essentially can kind of go in, and if he has a good offensive minded type of system with a decent coach, I think he'd excel. And I think, with Seattle, I think that he went with guys like JSN, who's an offensive player of the year candidate, a really good running game. And a really good head coach that's defensive minded. So I think that, you put the right pieces for him. I don't know about that with Geno. I think that Geno just is very inconsistent. At least with Sam Darnold that for a fact that you can get a really good stretch of football. And if you can get a really good stretch with him, you can play with more higher confidence. So for me specifically, I think that it's more ludicrous than not. I think Sam Darnold, if he beats us in the Super Bowl, I'll give him credit. I know, of course, we've done really well against him, but that's, of course, when he was not the same guy when he was with the Jets. So I'd be very curious to see in terms of how he can, exercise the demons, I guess you can say, because he hasn't really had the success against us. But, yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Dino, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you'd have to say Sam Darnold is better than Geno Smith. Yeah, he I mean, if you think about it, he has slowly progressed in his career. He obviously with the Jets, he was horrible, but then again, who isn't horrible with the Jets? Carolina, he started out pretty well and then kind of just slowly, his season progressively got worse that year, if I remember. Obviously 14 wins last year with Minnesota before a horrible playoff performance. And now this year, he kind of just all put it together, both good regular season and good playoffs. And they're in the Super Bowl. And that's definitely somewhere Geno Smith has not even come close to being. So there's no doubt Sam Darnold is the better quarterback right now. The only thing I will say is I'm not sure if there's been that many cases where he's had to really go lead a game-winning drive just yet. So I'm interested to see if he can be put into that kind of situation, if he can come through. But that's just a credit to how good Seattle's defense and other weapons have been as well.
I agree. Really, really quickly too with Dino's point is I think that Sam Darnold is going to keep getting better. I think that what we have seen this year, I think that he just has to stick with Seattle. I think that, like I said, with Minnesota, they gave up on him. I guess. I think Seattle, they just said we're going to take a chance on him, and I think Sam is basically looking at that organization and said, all right, sure, I'll just go and prove you guys that you guys made the wrong choice and went with a guy that's a lot more unknown, and this is what you paid for. So, yeah, I think with Seattle, that's a perfect spot, and I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not saying that Sam Darnold is now all of a sudden going to turn into, Mark Jackson or the higher tier, but I do think that he could be a very, comparable quarterback in this league for years to come, and be somebody that is good, is really good.
Ben, to you for confession too. The American Football Conference was a trash can this year. The Pats winning a title game with 86 passing yards is an insult to the game. They will get hammered by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Obviously, this is your team. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, listen, right? I don't care if it's 500 yards. I don't care if it's 86 yards. As they say in sports, you can take an ugly win better than a pretty loss. And with the way that this game was kind of happening, I feel like a broken record saying it by now is, 86 yards is terrible. I'm not obviously going to sugarcoat that, but the way that this overall game was happening, I think that the offensive-minded coach that we have in Josh McDaniels basically wanted to eliminate Drake as much as possible with having chances to throw the football in this type of weather. So if he actually had more chances to throw the football in this type of weather, and essentially they didn't want to go by the field position, and they basically wanted to, trust the defense as possible, there would have been a lot more points that Drake May would have had. Passing yards that he would have had. But as they say, look at Josh Allen. Look at some of these quarterbacks in terms of when it comes to passing stats. It looks pretty on paper, but what happens at the end of the day? People are going to just obviously remember, the wins, right? Maybe some people are going to say, well, the MVP situation. Listen, I don't really care, to be honest. Give Stafford the MVP for all I care, right?
Yes.
Because he deserves it, right? Drake's is in his year too. He'll definitely get his chance to. So, the AFC, right, this year, I think a lot of people are very happy to see the Chiefs be out for a first time in a while, because they, of course, had the fatigue from making the Super Bowl year after year for the last couple of years when the Pats were not in it, right? And I think, obviously the Bengals, of course, the Joe Burrow and company, they, of course, always seem to have great offenses, but, of course, can Burrow stay healthy? Can that defense ever put together? Usually it doesn't happen. The Ravens, right? The Ravens, of course, with John Harbaugh, of course, his tenure ended this year. The Steelers, of course, with Aaron Rodgers. Mike Tomlin, of course, stepped down. So a lot of things, a lot of turning around, this and that. The Patriots really, with a second-year quarterback, with a head coach that the Titans gave up on, they basically gave this as an opportunity to go into the playoffs. Basically, how Mike Vrabel pretty much said what he had in his press conference last year when he got hired, and said, we want to build a culture, we want to win the division, we want to host playoff games, and we want to have a chance to make a deep run. Everything he basically said so far has basically came true, crazy enough, and the Patriots have taken advantage of it. Of course, the schedule, of course, is kind of handed this and that. Like, all right, whatever, right? The Patriots are in this spot. I'm going to enjoy it because I'm a fan of this team. And I think that this team definitely is going to get started to hopefully become, and I'm not going to go crazy with dynasty talks, but I do think with a really bright future ahead.
Dino, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, if people are making a big deal about 86 yards, but I mean, it's a byproduct of the game they were playing. They were in blizzard conditions in the second half. So they changed their game plan. They decided we're not going to throw. We're just going to run. We're going to, play Mike Vrabel, he's a great coach. He's a student of Belichick. He likes to win with defense. He does make some conservative calls sometimes. So I think it was just his own nature that they changed the game plan to more of a running game. So of course Drake May was only going to have 86 yards. But let's not forget Drake May did also score their only touchdown. So he did have a big play. Down. He had a big play there where he found the hole and he ran in for the touchdown. So he still played well. He didn't make any mistakes. He just wasn't able to really pass the ball at all. In the first half, you got to give credit to the Broncos secondary. They were shutting him down. Yeah. But in the second half, it was a blizzard, so nobody could do anything. They couldn't even kick field goals. So in the end, defense and rushing won them that game. So that's just the byproduct of the game they were playing. So you can't really make a big deal about him only having 86 yards.
Mr. Morgasen?
Can you just repeat the take one more time? Because I just think it was absurd.
What else is new? All these takes are absurd. The American Football Conference was a trash can conference this year. The Pats win a title game with 86 passing yards is an insult to the sport. They'll get hammered by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks.
You really want to look at the AFC. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that won 10 games or more. You're going to tell me the AFC is a trash conference? Really? Let's look at the NFC. 1, 2. They each had 5 teams with 10 or more wins. Yep. So to say that the AFC is trash is absolutely absurd in every way, shape, or form. For Drake May, was it a tough game? Yes, it was a tough game. But at the same time, like Dino said, after the first half, you couldn't see anything on the field. It was snowing so hard that, I thought you were going to see fans start throwing snowballs on the field again to try to affect the football game.
And CBS had to put the virtual lines up too, and people got ticked off about that too, apparently.
Why? You can't see the yard lines on the TV.
I don't know how they were. I don't know how the refs were spotting the ball because you couldn't see the lines.
I think they have virtual measurements. I think they use on the field.
And the CBS broadcast kept on mentioning in terms of the plays when it was in the snow. It was starting at this so and so, where we think that
they have stats and info was having a problem getting the markers done for the broadcast because usually, and Callan, you would know this better, they have spotters usually that are on the field that can see, but the field, and by the way, I thought it was hilarious each time that they kept using leaf blowers to go across the field to
leaf blowers.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't doing
oversized hair dryers. How can that be fun?
Exactly. And it wasn't working. And usually these fields have the heaters below the field.
Especially
those were
in Colorado, yes.
And those weren't doing shit because the field was still covered. But at the same time, both teams, it was a fair game because each side had to deal with all the elements. It's not
Another thing too, really quick, I think a lot of people are not understanding with this is the altitude.
Yes.
It's worse throughout a game. And with the way that this game is going with the bad elements, it takes even a worse toll, I think, that people realize with the altitude included. Even if the altitude was really bad with good conditions, it still would have been tough. But you add that also
cold.
To that.
Yeah. When you had the cold,
Drake May looked like after the game that my mom was saying he looked like he had frostbite. with pretty
He
much,
did.
you know, with and I mean, I think that people have to understand that the altitude is just no joke. I mean, I've never
Also-
been to Colorado, but
I haven't either. I want to go see a Rockies game there because I'm a big proponent on traveling to MLB stadiums. But you have to scientifically, it's harder to breathe in colder air when you're running around. It is harder. And then, like Ben said, to add the altitude to it, being almost 5,300 feet above sea level is not helping
they
the
even
cause.
have the hallway for the away teams. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
There's really a sign that says "Welcome to like the Rocky Mountain altitude" or something. Like
Yes. Well, that's the whole psych out of
You're a mile high above sea level. The Rockies, to Nick's point, have an actual purple ring of seats at Coors Field in the upper level that marks where you're exactly a mile high above sea level at Coors Field.
but
so you're telling me those purple seats aren't Grimace and Mile High?
No.
No, that was a Mets thing.
I hated that whole Grimace thing. That's another point for another day. But I think Drake may deserve some credit going all the way back to the regular season for his performances. And I think people are forgetting that. I'm getting tired of people saying that the schedule was too easy. That's a ridiculous statement. In the NFL, you don't know what's going to happen every single year. It's the most unpredictable sport out of every professional sport that we play because you still have to go out and win the games. How many times we saw the Packers get upset by Carolina? Carolina also upset LA.
Crushed the Bills when everybody was saying that the Bills were going to crush the Dolphins.
If it was so easy, why aren't the top teams going 17-0? Like that's the point I'm trying to make. Because if it was so easy and predictable, all the top teams would win, the other teams would go 0-17, and all the big market teams would make it every single year.
And Callan, I mean, you might disagree with this in a little way, but I hate to like put the Dodgers into the fact of like, you know, because of course people are going to say the Dodgers should be able to go out and go 110, you know, wins with spending all this money, and then of course, right, you know, the narratives for all the Dodger fans like, well, heck, we were a couple outs away from being eliminated. So
stop.
You know,
fair point though.
I mean, listen, like, I'm not saying this to defend like the Dodgers specifically, but like they do kind of have like a similar type of point of like, you still have to play the games. Like,
correct.
It doesn't matter like what happens.
By the way, I still have people on our TikTok account who are trashing me for that clip.
What, the World Series one?
Yes, that are still trashing me, still saying that I'm a Dodger hater. And,
they gotta give it up. That's nuts.
And I'm like, no, you nimrods! Like the Dodgers. I don't want to watch a $413 million salary cap team every single year who doesn't give a crap about salaries.
But they're gonna say that, you know, your GMs have to spend more though. You got to watch for those Dodger fans to say that. So
yes, because you have a hedge fund running you. I mean, and everyone tries
to throw money.
But in the NFL, it's the complete opposite. They don't spend any money on their players, and somehow they find ways to win. Oh, the Bills are going to have to do that now. That's a whole different issue. But
yes, get out of the basement, you idiots. Go away.
Trust me, I have a much thicker. I have a much thicker skin than most people. But Callan, you agreed with me about the whole bias of Dodgers Nation over there, including your favorite broadcaster of all time.
2 more months until I let the Padres dictate my mood for 6 months before we have a lockout for the next 10 years.
I mean,
good Lord.
Well, I'll ask Ben because Ben is a big baseball fan, including the team that's on his hat right now. I don't know how I'm going to watch baseball this year because the Dodgers are just going to run away with everything.
Well, so I look at it in this way, right? As a baseball fan myself, I'm going to enjoy this season because I know what's coming the following year, and that's, I think, everybody is anticipating the lockout. So I'd rather watch baseball, even though I'm kind of anticipating what's going to happen down the stretch of saying, well, this is kind of boring, than to, you know, not watch baseball in general. Because then, of course, when baseball doesn't happen, I look at it, it's kind of like during COVID. It's like, now what? Like, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, like, you know, it kind of sucks. So, you know, yes, there obviously is a point of like, do I want to see the Dodgers win it? Of course not. Like, nobody, I think, wants to, of course, unless you're a Dodger fan. But if it had to have me go through a baseball season in which I could watch baseball, watch my team, and watch summer where there's baseball games on, and where I think Callan and Nick and everybody, Ryan, shout out to Ryan, everybody that can watch baseball games where we obviously love it and can go to games and go with friends and stuff like that, that's what I love. So, like, I think a lot of people, of course, are just going to miss that overall feeling when you look at about a year from now, and we're, of course, talking about, labor disputes and other shit.
Do you think that the Dodgers are going to get stuff thrown at them from the stands that are going to get booed the whole year?
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't know about that.
they probably won't. I mean, I do think, that Dodgers Padres kind of the rivalry.
I mean, I was going to say, if Ken Rosenthal has his way, then they're going to throw beer bottles at Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado at every Dodger Padre game in L.A. this season.
Or if you had it Bob Nightingale's way, you would announce Yu Darvish's retirement before it really happened.
I mean, it's the Dodgers Padres rivalry. I mean, those are some of my favorite games to really watch, Callan, just recently the last couple of years, because the Padres have just been that team that has been just kind of coming up in terms of what they have their franchise guys, and they basically kind of look at this Dodgers team as kind of the Avengers of, like, kind of showing like nobody could stop this type of mentality. But in terms of like the overall fan bases, of course, it's kind of, with the Red Sox and Yankees side of things, of course, like even pre-old days, Nick, if you remember those, the real, like,
early 2000s.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying like we're like kind of going away with it now with like the Yankees, right? Because the Red Sox obviously have had a lot of down years recently. Yankees, of course, have had some down years recently, but like the Padres obviously are trying to get that World Series chip for a long period of time, and they know for a fact it's like, you son of a you-know-whats that are ahead of us. We want to get you guys so bad. And if it has to happen where we have to go and go back and forth, I love that type of stuff.
Well, by the way, now Toronto being a good team, I think makes that division better. I think in the AL East, because
definitely.
By the way, usually I would not say I felt bad for Toronto, but I felt bad for Toronto when they lost that World Series, because
I think everybody did. They had it.
I mean, I'm not a Blue Jays fan, but I was heartbroken for them. Like,
I mean, Callan,
you could not come any closer to winning a World Series than they did and not win.
I mean, that'll go back. The one fun memory I remember from the playback days. Do you remember we sat through that whole entire World Series? What was it, Game 7?
That was the best. That was the absolute best, man.
That was one of the craziest. Callan, you and I sat through the rest of the game, if you remember.
Yeah, that was one of the. I think we finished doing a basketball doubleheader, and then we flipped to the World Series that night, and it kept going and going and going and going and going and going. And
well,
I mean, it was incredible.
It was the dumb scheduling done by Major League Baseball to put a game up against a doubleheader.
Yeah.
But you know what? That game, you and I think the game finally ended, at like 3:15 or 3:20 in the morning?
Just after midnight on the West Coast, I think, yeah.
So
you guys are talking about that game.
Game 7.
Talking about the trick game, not the World Series.
No, we did. So
we
did sit through the 15-inning ALCS game. We also, I think, sat through the ending, innings 9 through 18 of the Blue Jay Dodger game 3. I want to say from
game
Dodger Stadium.
Right? Yes, that game. Yes. Okay,
Another thing I'm thinking about while we're talking about with baseball, which I do think is kind of a blessing in disguise that we kind of have this event, but I think if we do have the lockout next year, I think the blessing is that we get the chance to kind of have double baseball with the World Baseball Classic in March, and then we have baseball again for the summer, because it's like, okay, like, because U.S. this year, Callan, you've probably seen the USA roster this year for World Baseball.
I did too.
And Nick as well. They definitely, if they can't win with this roster, I don't know if they'll ever win it like they have been in a long period of time.
The last time they won it was 17 when they beat Puerto Rico at Dodger Stadium, I think, because they finally beat Japan in the semifinals that year.
See, so I have the roster here. So Cal Raleigh and Will Smith, both your catchers.
Which, that's
definitely unheard of. Bryce Harper, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., Alex Bregman, Bryce Terang, Brewers, Ernie Clement, Blue Jays, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Judge.
Jeez, we're trouble.
I'm in trouble. God. Aaron Judge, who is the captain of Team USA.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll, Brian Buxton, Pete Crow Armstrong, who's been a really good player over the last couple of years. Kyle Tucker. Kyle Schwarber's your designated hitter, which is going to be insane.
I love that.
And then listen to this pitching. Paul Skeens, Tariq Skubal.
Yep.
Logan Webb. I didn't know Clayton. It says Clayton Kershaw's on the roster. Is he pitching?
He is.
Mason Miller, Clay Holmes, Joe Ryan, Griffin Jacks, and David Bednar.
And Nolan McLean, too, from the Mets.
But that's insane. If that team doesn't win.
Mason Miller's probably your closer, too, if not David Bednar.
And I think Trout is on the roster, isn't he?
I don't know yet. We'll see. Depends
He
on
should
his
just
health.
be on it for fun purposes because I know he's obviously not the same guy, but he always seems
Dude,
to
talk about one of the biggest busts of a contracts of all time.
If he just stayed healthy, though, that's the thing. If he could ever just put it together as a
He reminds me of Griffey before having all the numbers, like crashing into walls and all that stuff. Like,
but yeah, just that was just kind of my overall point is like getting the World Baseball Classic, especially right after the Olympics too. I mean, basically, remember you guys know with like the Super Bowl, they kind of had that dry period for people that really just kind of like, it's all right, whatever. Now we have to wait for pitchers and catchers to report, and you got spring training, and then baseball's finally happening. Like this year is going to be crazy because you have.
I mean, we literally have the Olympic opening ceremony next Friday.
Oh my God!
Is it really that soon already?
Yeah, and then Tarico's going to pull Super Bowl duty and then primetime Milan duty on NBC after the Super Bowl ends on Sunday.
But he's going to be in L.A.
He'll be in L.A. or in San Francisco, what have you. One of the two, one of the three.
It's right after in the post game.
Cal's going to be bumping then for February. Wow.
It's going to be great, man.
And then you ride that all the way, to March Madness. And
you got the World Cup as well this year. Canada, the U.S., and Mexico are hosting that. And then for more baseball, the Olympic Games in 28 in L.A. at Dodger Stadium.
See, I don't know if I'm the only one with this opinion, by the way. I can't get behind the World Baseball Classic.
I love it, but that's just kind of
I can't get behind it, though, because of the injuries. That Edwin Diaz kind of ruined it for me completely, where
I'm fine with it, but there's no right way to properly do it because when in the calendar can you do it without the weather being a factor over the offseason?
Yeah, but to stupidly make that celebration, you get hurt, he loses a season. Like
I will, he's a
Dodger now.
I will just say, like that was a very Mets thing to happen because, so like I fully support people going to play for their country. And it would have been one thing if he got hurt while actually pitching, but he got hurt while celebrating.
Well, that's what
down like Bill Grammatica ripping his ACL.
But that's what bothers me here, like that he was jumping up and down and celebrating, and that's how he gets hurt. And by the way, the teams are not protected if their guys get hurt in the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if the insurance kicks in on their contracts. So what type of insurance do you have if you send these guys to the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, who knows? With that, guys, let's get to our Pour One Out segment here. Nice to talk a little bit of baseball there. We'll skip over the last couple of topics. We went past the 2-hour threshold anyway. Guys, we're going to pour one out. As always, Pour One Out is our therapy session for the night. Mr. Morgasen, we're pouring one out tonight for Bo Nix, Matthew Stafford, Patty Pimblett's undefeated UFC streak, and Miami's home field miracle. Mr. Morgasen, who had the more heartbreaking exit? Matthew Stafford losing against the Seahawks or Carson Beck's game-ending pick in his own stadium?
Ooh.
I would say Stafford because Carson Beck and Miami were not supposed to win the game anyway. So that really doesn't mean anything. It was a much closer game. The spread was beat in the game. So if you want to give him credit on that regard, that's one thing. But Matthew Stafford and the Rams were supposed to make a competitive game. I don't know if they were the favorite in the game. I think they were the favorite in the game.
Yeah.
But
no, they weren't.
They were underdogs.
It was like two. It was pretty much just pick 'em though.
It was pretty much a pick 'em game, and everyone thought the Rams were going to beat Seattle because of Sam Darnold. But of course, I think I was one of 3 people in our forecast picks that had Seattle. But you know what? I think the Stafford one hurts more. He's 37 years old. If he had made the Super Bowl and won, I think he would have gone out on top and retired at that point. And Sean McVay, who has had an incredible coaching career, he's young. I think he's younger than 40 right now, right?
He's like late 30s, I think.
So he's got a long coaching career. There was rumors that he was going to go off to the booth for a year or two. He could have made a shitload of money going to the booth if he actually took the money. But yeah, I think it hurts more for Stafford than it does for Beck. Now, Beck has made plenty of money in NIL. I think he made like $11 million this past year. And by the way, did you guys see the video? What?
By the way, Nick, Sean McVay just turned 40 on the 24th of this month.
Okay, close enough. He's still 40. He's young. But did you see the humble brag that, I graduated classes 2 years ago?
Yeah, we talked about that in Press Row last Wednesday.
So he's doing fine. He graduated. He got to play. He made his NIL money. He's going to go as like a late third-round draft pick in the NFL draft when that comes up in April. I'm not worried about him. I think Stafford, that was just tough loss for Stafford. So I'd say Stafford.
Ben, what do you think here? Who you pouring one out for, Matthew Stafford or Carson Beck from this past week and weekend of sports?
Yeah, I got to agree with Nick with Stafford because I just don't know how many more years Stafford really has in his career. So I think that he looked at this as an opportunity with a really good offense. I mean, unfortunately, the defense really kind of let the Rams down. I think Tom and Nick and a lot of people on forecasts were really thinking that the Rams could be a team to go to the Super Bowl pretty much going to start of the year, pretty much with all the expectations. And in the second half, they just didn't seem to be kind of the same exact team for some odd reason with that secondary. And I thought with Stafford, playing the way that he has been playing, and of course, he's going to win MVP to me, even as a Pats fan, because he's just one of the best throwing quarterbacks in the game. Carson Beck, I think, like Nick mentioned, Miami definitely wasn't supposed to be there. They had a really fun run, though. I mean, the fact that they beat Ohio State, they beat
A&M.
A&M, yep. And then they beat somebody else big.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
Ole Miss, yeah.
So, Carson Beck obviously had some really good moments, but they went and faced the buzzsaw of the buzzsaw, and that was Indiana. So, you can't look at Carson Beck and say, wow, you got to really, it was tough for Beck, right? Of course, he had the interception. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it sucked for him. But, Stafford doesn't really have any more years left probably in this league, and I think that he deserves to have at least one more Super Bowl in his career. And I think that there was a chance this year with a lot of the top guys, missing the playoffs or just not going out like Josh Allen, stuff like that. So I'm going to go Stafford. However, I do think that Stafford does have one more Super Bowl in him for a chance to win. If he does that, I think he retires.
Dino, who you pouring one out for tonight?
Well, I mean, obviously it's tough for both of them. I'll pour one out for Carson Beck, actually. I mean, this was definitely his last chance to win another national championship. So I'm not sure if he's really gonna have a very successful NFL career. So it may have very well been the last we ever see of Carson Beck. And, yes, Miami was not supposed to win that game. The fact that they kept it close but, as they say, there's no moral victories. So they had a chance to go and get a game-winning drive there, and he threw an interception to end the game. Whereas with Stafford, I mean, he had an amazing season. The Rams did not lose because of Matthew Stafford. They lost because of their defense. So, I mean, it's tough for both of them. The Rams personally were actually my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. I thought they presented a good value because of how close they came to beating the Eagles last year. So, I thought they were going to win this year, but they came close, but no cigar.
Would you really say it's his last year, or are we going to see a Trinidad Chambliss situation where he's just going to sue for another year of eligibility?
What? I mean, this is already his sixth year.
Trinidad Chambliss is suing for a seventh year.
I don't see how you're allowed to continue playing. You're not even going to classes anymore. Like that.
Yeah, his might be over, but I think by rule to collect on NIL, you have to be enrolled in at least 1 or 2 classes to accept NIL
Yeah,
money.
let him take a Harry Potter class. He'll be fine.
Or a Taylor Swift class. Wouldn't be the first one.
Listen, he could just shake it off that class then.
What?
Oh,
Ugh.
Wowzer.
Just wait till the big prop bets come up for week of forecast. How many Taylor Swift bets are we going to see inside that show?
What's the over/under of her actually making an appearance for the Super Bowl? By the way,
I don't remember. Well, the Chiefs are not in it, so why would she show up?
Well, celebrities, no matter what, you never know.
I'm looking up because I love using these now, but like the Kalshi sites or Polymarket, I would never bet on them. Let me be very clear about that.
Litigation.
But it's fun to just kind of look at. Like they have Bad Bunny's halftime opener. I don't know any of his songs, but who will attend the big game? Lionel Messi or Elon Musk? It's amazing. Some of these bets are absurd, just in every way.
A lot of like I guess the Kalshi offers them, but a lot of the offshore
for the MLS season to start in a couple of weeks.
What? What'd you say?
I said Messi's going to be prepping for the MLS season to start in like 3 weeks.
I didn't say it was logical. Let me put it that way. It's
that
more.
Doesn't mean he can't go to the Super Bowl.
That's true. You don't think the Super Bowl would want him there with all his followers and everything? Come on.
Not if the threats of what's supposed to be there for the halftime show are going to be there.
See, they have some props listed here on Kalshi or Polymarket, which I don't recommend you use because they're both under litigation. But the one that just makes me laugh is that you can bet on the temperature for whatever state you want.
Right, you can bet on the weather. I saw that.
What'd you say, Dino?
That you can bet on the weather.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's one coming up in about an hour and 48 minutes. There's countdown clocks on these. So it says lowest temperature in Denver today. And it says -6 to -5 or -9 or below.
Wow.
You have and you can wait until the timer gets down to like the last few seconds. Can you imagine like if that was hey guys, I bet my house on whether Denver's going to be -9 degrees or below today. I'm a millionaire. Oh, how did you become a millionaire? Oh, I just bet on Denver's temperature for today. What? Snow in New York. Here's another good one. Above 15 inches or above 20 inches.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Well, I do because I have to shovel it.
Oh, jeez.
I have to go back out and shovel it tomorrow still. And then we have to get a nor'easter again this next coming weekend.
It doesn't end, does it?
Well, how much snow did you get?
Oh, I got around the same as you.
Okay. I mean, at least I just want to say one thing. At least you were safe after what happened, though.
I'm very thankful for sure, yes.
Because there was some drivers do not know how to drive in the snow at all whatsoever. Because I saw it yesterday. Like people were fishtailing all over, doing 360s, not the good kind, just 360ing around in their car because they just don't know how to make turns on the ice. By the way, there was like an inch or two of ice on top of the snow when I walked out this past morning. I was just like, no, make it stop. And there's going to be another foot.
You're mentioning about like people driving in the snow. I remember this one time, this was like a few years ago. We got like a very rare like November snowfall. And it really wasn't much because, it was only November. So it was like very little. But I think just the fact that it was November, people were shocked that it was snowing. People like did not know how to drive that time. Like they were driving so slowly and like they didn't know how to turn. And I'm
So
like,
you
"We've
clearly
had
have never
snow
been
in
to
New York
California
before."
when it rains, because nobody out here knows how to drive when it rains in this state.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, like I've heard how much like the news overreacts when it rains in
Top
California.
story. It's raining in California.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite part is that the apocalypse happens when a storm like this happens here in the Northeast area. Like, so Nico was telling me that they cleared out all the supermarkets of milk and eggs and bread. Like that happens every time when 4 inches of snow fall.
Anytime the news says the word snow, then the supermarkets are empty pretty much.
How do you know the supermarkets aren't planting that report? Maybe they want to make more sales. Just saying. You don't know. I mean, I think they look forward to the winter here in the Northeast because they know as soon as, like you said, as soon as they say snow,
Excellent.
yes, we're going to sell more milk and bread and eggs, which means we have to get more.
What don't you understand about more?
God, I don't know. What do we have coming up the rest of this week?
72 and sunny in San Diego. Sorry, gang. With that, though, guys, in mind, though, before we lock the doors tonight, I'm looking at the tab and realizing how insane the sports world has become. We now are staring down the barrel of a Super Bowl where Sam Darnold is the favorite and Drake May is the challenger. It's messy, unpredictable, and pure chaos. Whether it's Brooks Koepka coming back to the cliffs of Torrey Pines to see if he still has the stomach for the PGA Tour, or Indiana fans waking up with a hangover that's going to last until spring training. Sports doesn't care about your script, and it doesn't care about the experts who told me years ago that a kid from San Diego with a loud mouth and a love for hockey wouldn't make it in this industry. We do it for the moments where the referees go silent, the crowd is hushed, and you have to find the voice to tell the story yourself. A major thanks to Nick Morgasen, Dino Taibi, and of course Ben Kruse for a massive night. You guys have made the transition from the broadcast booth back to the bar stool seamless. The scoreboards are in fact off, the stadiums are empty, but in here the lights stay on. We now have a Super Bowl to prep for, a top 25 to rebuild, and an appointment with some hockey and lemon for these vocal cords coming up this weekend. Until next weekend, we're working on our date though, because I'm going to be gone again next Monday, out for a field day next week. But with that in mind though, guys, sadly, the ETB Lounge is officially going to be closed until this weekend. We will, though, have Nick DiMartino back again for the upcoming weekend. We're, again, moving some furniture around in here for either Saturday, Sunday, for both of the shows, though, with just some scheduling stuff that has come up as we enter the month of February. The lounge might be closed, though, but the tab is never settled. We'll see you back here again later this week to see if Drake May has finally thawed out from that mile-high snow. Checks on the house gang for Nick Morgasen, Ben Kruse, and Dino Taibi. Callan McClurg saying good night from Southern California. We'll see you all again sometime this weekend. We're working on the scheduling for the Saturday and Monday shows due to the fact of me being away next Monday here in SoCal. Till next time, folks, have a great night. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Nice.